meeting for June 7th, 2023. And we will start with roll call. Mr. Perez?
Here.
Mr. Gagnon?
Present.
Mr. Combs?
Here.
For the record, we have 3 board members present. We have our quorum. We'll go ahead and do the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
The next item we have on our agenda is public comment period. Obviously, we're kind of new here, so we just wanted to kind of lay our traditional ground rules, and then we can kind of fit it in, as the district would like, or make changes to it. This would be the time for any members of the audience who'd like to make public comments. Come up to the podium, please state your name and address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes. We will note this is a public comment period, so it's not necessarily a question and answer session with the board, but it's intended for you to make any comments on any agenda items before the board might vote tonight, and let them know your thoughts on any items. So with that, we can open it up and let any members of the audience who'd like to make any public comments this time.
Jack Worksman, 3152 Vietnam Lane. I would like first to welcome Jason to Villa Sol. We have many issues that we are hoping you can help the board address and work to resolve, especially with your expertise with other CDD communities. I'll wait till you come back.
Can you put something on the door so it doesn't shut? Do you have a stopper?
Yes, it is true that we have a severe problem with our gate security. It actually is not the fault of Indira that previously ran the gate. The problem that we have is that our visitors and residents of Villa Sol are being very impatient in driving into the holes. So they get broken, and then we have to incur the cost of fixing them. Unless we get our residents to respect the security of the gates and the rules of the community, nothing we install will work. We have many friends that live around Florida, and they use Safe Passage. What an easy app to understand and to use to get into the community. We also have a problem with the common areas here at Villa Sol. My wife and I probably use the pool more than most people in the community. We've encountered several issues: loud music, dogs swimming in the pool, smoking in the pool area, and kids kicking soccer balls. These problems all boil down to respect for others and respect for the rules and regulations of Villa Sol. We feel that since 98% of our community is Hispanic, all the signs should be in English and Spanish of the rules and regulations. Maybe that would help the problems that we're encountering, since the majority of rules that are being broken at the pool are the Hispanic community. Finally, we hope that you can bring to the board some normalcy, Jason, and that you can get our board members to understand that they have been put in a position to take care of the problems and issues that Villa Sol needs to take care of, and to put their childish activities and bickering aside, and work together as a team. Welcome, and good luck.
Thank you.
Any other audience comments?
Nobody else will.
How you doing? My name is Camille Nin. I live in 2972 Marbella. It's a couple of stuff that I got, and the question is, are we going to implement back again the tolling? Because we still got people blocking the road, blocking fire hydrant, and it's going crazy right now. The other thing is, what's going to happen whenever we get, I know, the new security system, are we all going to be informed and get all the stuff here, or are you guys going to let us know? And the other thing is, like I said, in here, but it's like today, just trying to get into my house, I couldn't get in because the guy that doesn't even live here is blocking my traffic. And that's happening every time. Running on the same street, the same person right next to you. You know, so I don't know. I called the cops can't do anything. I don't know what we even have. You know, and I agree with the cops, but it's something that I don't like. But, you know, that's all I want to say, and thank you. And like I said, I hope you guys, you know, can help us out a lot.
Give me 1 second, we actually have another call in line, let me get that open as well. Just give me 1 second, guys.
No.
Just check. All right, I think we've got the 2 calls lined up. Let me just check. Oh, hold on 1 second. Technology is not cooperating. All right. All right, I think we've got everything connected. Mario, can you hear us? Trying to merge 2 calls on this a little. I'm going to restart all of these calls. It's just hanging up on all of them. Let me send Mario this one. He should have this This is Jason.
I hear something.
Yeah. This is Jason. Hey, Mario. All right. Yeah, if you can call into that other number, we do have some residents on. I sent you a text with the number in it. Okay, let me see. You know what, I'll just put you on this one and I'll try to merge the calls in. All right, can you hear us, Mario? Okay. There you go, can you hear us? Do you hear us, Mario? He just hung up.
Maybe he's going to the other number.
All right.
Mike Ashcombe is asking again for the number. Which number? This one?
If they call that one, that should be okay. Oh, he said he's on his way. He'll be here in a few minutes. Technological challenges, see me. We'll go ahead and again open it up for any audience. Any more audience?
My concern is about the gate and the safety, and or lack of safety thereof. There is nobody guarding the place, there is nobody checking out when single goes out, lives here, doesn't live here. I feel that I feel unsafe. There is why we are without a gate and what is the plan? Because something needs to happen, I think. So I look in your agenda, I don't see anything about the gate.
It's already been approved last meeting.
Well, what was approved? I was
The
not
gate.
here.
The gate.
Can you elaborate on that?
All right, who's on the call?
I think it was Mike.
Okay.
I think.
Gotcha, Mike. Thank you.
So what was approved was a system that is going to be managed by you as a homeowner, and it's going to be virtually you going to be giving access to the people that are coming to your home.
Yeah, but that doesn't give me anything safe as to who else is coming in other than the people that I know.
Because
I mean, this is a big community.
correct.
That doesn't quite help, because what about somebody else comes to another house and they are not there and they still come in? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I can address that to some extent. My name is Kristen Trucco. I serve as district counsel for the CDD. So one point is that one relevant point here is that the gates are actually soft gates. So the roadways within this community were financed with tax-exempt bond funds. And as a result, we're not allowed under the law to prohibit any member of the public from entering. So there will be a gate that's going to be installed. The board has already approved a proposal. And so we've been ironing out the agreement that is fully executed at this time. And now the district manager is in the process of scheduling a time for that construction of the new gate to begin.
Can you walk me through how this is going to work?
I don't know all of the details about.
Yeah, at this stage, we're still trying to work that out with the vendor itself. To address the other residents' concern, once we have some more details, We've already been in contact with the HOA. We're going to send out some information to all the residents about what the process is and how it's all going to work. We just don't have that right now.
Okay, how long this is gonna take?
At this age, I don't have an ETA from the vendor yet.
So I keep
Yeah, 4 to
knocking
6
on
weeks.
doors and hope that nobody breaks in?
But we got police going around.
Yeah, so the CDD board has elected to have off-duty patrol service by Osceola County Sheriff's Department come.
And how do we get to this point where we are without a gate? Why nobody has the presence of mind to keep what we got until we can get something in place?
It's the amount of money that it was spent, $10,000 a month for just the barricades going down. So for the best of the district, the decision was to remove those and stop that contract to save $10,000 a month.
Well, if you
And then we gotta get a new system with the big gates working, a barricade, and it's more controlled by you.
If it works out to that point, why don't keep it until we have something? I mean, it's just, this is saving some money at the expense of our safety, and that is not cool.
We appreciate that comment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other audience comments? Any audience comments on the phone?
Also, Jason, before we move, I don't know if, can you present, just for the record, yourself and,
Sure. Sure, so obviously my name is Jason Chow, I'm with Governmental Management Services. We were hired as your district manager at your last meeting. We've been serving in that role for about 7 days at this point. We also have Jarrett with us. Jarrett Wright, he's going to be the primary field person out on site out here. So if you, obviously he's got business cards, if you have a field concern, you can obviously get those to me, but he's going to run point on all those issues. You can communicate with me, you can communicate with Jarrett, we work as a team. So we really want to help, kind of bring some stability to this community and help make some improvements around here. With that, if the board's amenable, we can go to the next item on the agenda. So your district engineer wasn't able to attend tonight because of a meeting conflict. But we did hand out, he did present a report that we handed out, detailing several of the issues he's been looking at. So the first issue is site distance, turning on the Via Otero. We got the email with a video, gave it to the engineer. He recommended just some trimming of the plants around here. We got that to Jarrett. He's meeting with landscaper tomorrow.
Correct, tomorrow.
To get that done. Obviously, it's in the opinion of your engineer, it could be a safety concern, so we're going to get that addressed ASAP to resolve that. We've also got the issue of the stormwater repair at 3177 Via Otero. Your engineer has gotten us a scope of the work that needs to be done, and we've reached out to some vendors to get some pricing on that to bring back to you. He did do his evaluation here on the one-way on Via Otero. He's recommending to at least table that for now, so we can have some further discussion on that, but obviously their traffic engineer explains that that's a challenge. He's also looked at the depression repair at the front end, at the left entrance lane. And he expects that to be an additional $8,500 above and beyond the proposal already provided. Then there's a manhole cover repair on Marble. So those are the items he was working on. Obviously, if there's anything that comes up tonight or additional questions you have on any of these items, we can relay those to Peter, so that at your meeting next month, he can give a full report on all those items.
Question.
Yes.
On the stormwater repair, did Jared went and checked that area to see what's the status on how bad is it?
I think Peter's working on that.
Oh, okay, so your field manager Jared didn't went over.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood your question. Yes, no, he's been out there and looked at it for sure. We had the engineer come out because it is once it's dealing with stormwater, that's not anything we're really certified in or have qualifications in to look at that type of infrastructure. So your engineer came out, he gave us a scope. So we're taking that scope. Jared's been on site, and he's going to meet with vendors with that scope that the engineer provided, so that your engineer is not wasting hours just getting proposals for you guys.
And the last item on actually number 4, the depression that he's referring is the pavers and the entrance.
Yes.
So that's on the right hand side.
This one says left entrance lane. So.
Well, it depends, yeah. If you're looking on the front, on the left,
Okay.
if you're coming in on the right.
Okay.
So the original proposal it was 8,500. So is it another 8,500 additional to the 85 to the original 85?
That's what the engineer reported at this one. We haven't got a full proposal, I don't think, on that yet.
Yeah, this scope is to do pavement, concrete, and the depression that the engineering say that we have to tackle before we can put the pavers in.
Okay. Right. So that's the same company, the Matao company that we approved on the last meeting.
I think that's where he got the scope from, but yeah, we don't have a formal proposal on that yet. And that's not to say we can't, I mean, you guys approved the one repair already, so likely by the time we get to the next meeting, we'll have a full proposal for you, with the additional.
Okay. I'm not putting you on the spot. I know that you are the new company. I understand in order to get the gates, like the lady just mentioned, we need to do pavers first, then the gate, and then the system that is gonna be mainly, so that way the gate can open and close. Do we have any more information, or you have any more information on who's the name of the company that's gonna be working on the system, on the IT department?
Well, it's gonna, I mean, King's Access is part of their contract, is that they're gonna kind of run that system, or they'll be managing the database. So I'm in contact with them, I'm just trying to get a detail from them on when they're gonna be out to give us some information on how that program's gonna work. We don't have that.
And then for access, it's gonna be MyQ. That's the main brain of the operation. And then for public access, we can do different things. Have phones, person phones, or a button on there where they click on it and they get access as a public access.
So based on your experience, how does it work for like Amazon, UPS, or different vendors that come every day to the community? How would they get inside the community? Do they have to call somebody resident, or they want it on their number?
So every community is gonna have kind of a different feel for what they want. Obviously the important part is that, and your attorney will tell you, that you have to have public access. So everybody has to have some method of access. Some of our communities that have a similar setup, they will put a thing on there that just says push in code 2222 to enter. I didn't get the feel that that's something you guys would want. Another option is that, typically with those systems, there's a database where somebody can scroll through and look for information and click a person's name. We can set up one that might say, we can put a note on there that says, for public access, find entry for public access. And if somebody finds that public access entry, they can hit the button and it'll just open. Obviously, when we have the camera system up and running, we'll still have all the video footage of everybody coming in as well, as a backup.
And then for the Amazon, remember, you can give the code to Amazon as you, and then you put it on your detail area, you put the code for them, a one-time code, and then they can come in and out.
Okay. Any payments has been made to that company already, to King's Access?
No.
Not yet?
No.
Did they require any 50% to?
They do require a deposit. Unfortunately, at this point, I think as part of that update we gave you, we don't have bank accounts set up to make that payment just yet. We're holding that invoice pending that bank account being set up. But there is a 50% deposit required.
So they agreed to move forward with the progress even though they don't have the payment?
Yes, we have a signed contract.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The other item that's in your agenda is a work authorization from Newberry. This is for the annual engineers report. We will note that although this is a proposal that we presented to you, we typically don't have a whole lot of options. These reports are annually required as part of your bonds. Not only that, I think both Jared and I will attest that these are very valuable tools for us. Your engineer goes out, looks at all your infrastructure, and makes an evaluation and tells you where repairs are needed. So we find that it's very valuable from a couple perspectives. It helps with liability purposes as well. And again, it's required by your bonds. So they propose a fee of $4,500. It's our recommendation that the board approve that. But again, we'll open it up to you for any questions.
And this has to be done by the engineer, right? The report. So pretty much just to request bids is kind of proposal is going to be kind of, overwhelming. Just this is the price is kind of like on the spot.
Yeah, and it's comparable to what we see for other districts from other engineers. If you were to bring an outside engineer in, they're going to spend more money getting up to speed on the entire project. I don't think I wouldn't find that to be valuable to you.
Agree.
So
last year's number off the top of your head, and you're
I
still
know,
getting
I know.
acclimated. But
I have to go back and look. But I imagine they normally don't change very much from year to year. And again, it is in line with what we've seen for other districts, especially of this size. You guys do have a lot of infrastructure, so.
glad to hear
Would there be a motion to approve that?
So I make the motion to approve the annual engineering report for the amount of $4,500.
second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. On your agenda, I'll get you to the next one, which is the revised budget. We also handed you out a printout of the latest version. Sometimes it's easier, I find it, if you want to look at that on paper and make notes. We will note, again, there are a couple things to note here. Obviously, we created this, at the point we created this, we had none of your financial records, none of the records. So we obviously did the best job that we could using all the resources that we had available, which was the information on the website, plus some information that your prior manager gave us. In general, what we tried to do is show you the proposed budget that you approved, which is in the column original proposed budget 24. And then the next column to the right is proposed budget 24. That's the changes that we made. And then there's variants, so you can see which lines we adjusted, and we can go through those. Still not sure in your original proposed budget, there was a large amount of interest in investments. We're not sure why. So to be as conservative as possible, we just reduced that to a number we felt comfortable with, which was the 4,000. And under the revenues, the rest of those remain the same. On your administrative side, we upped your supervisor fees to $9,000, reflective of 9 meetings. Again, those are charges based on your usage, so we reflected that. We did increase your engineering and attorney fees based on just some recommendations that we've seen. Plus, your prior manager did give us some recommendations to make changes to the budget, so we did make some of those.
So you thinking on the engineering, we're gonna go to like $42,000 this year?
Again, I think a lot of what they did we kept their projections the same for now. Without any other data, it was hard for us to really make an evaluation, so we kind of just trusted their perspective. I'll note that a lot of the account lines, if you look, they basically just used the first 6 months as the number for the last 6 months. Again, those will come hit or miss. I'm not, at this stage, it's really hard for us to take a gauge on that without all the records.
And then on attorney, I know we were 25, so 40 is, do you think that's, because I see,
I don't know where we are right now, but I'll say that the past 2 months since I've been on, or a month and a half, it's been much higher
Correct.
than usually my invoices are going to be, because I was doing a lot of administrative work that really district management company for moving forward should be doing. And Jason, can attest on the other CDDs that we work with him on. Our fees are much lower than the invoices that have been coming in. So I think that will decrease now that Jason and his team are on board.
so do you think, since we were at 25, I think at 30,000 annual, I think, because, just to keep it, obviously we know everything increased yearly.
Yeah.
So obviously 25 was increased, I think, a few years back. So I think increasing it to 5,000 extra, it gives us a little room.
Sure, we're comfortable with whatever amount the board would like to put in there. The thing with those terms, with both the engineer and your attorney, is, we're gonna pay whatever the usage is based
Correct.
on the district. So the number in the budget is more kind of a placeholder.
Gotcha, okay.
And used for estimation purposes. So if the board's comfortable at 30, we can certainly reduce that back down to 30.
Anyone got a comment?
Yeah, and I would say just, to try to keep in line for the remainder of this fiscal year with the prior adopted budget. When there's issues or questions, what I would recommend, I think, for the rest of the year is maybe send them to Jason. And then usually 95% of the time, he'll be able to handle the issue. And then there's issues that he may need to reach out to me for, and I'm happy to be involved in that. But even things like rule development, they have drafts of those types of things. So then I can just be working on legal substantive issues. You're always free to contact me, but to try to keep it within the budget amount. Now that GMS is on board, they're fully capable of handling.
Correct. And then if he sees that you
And
need to go to
I can
you,
definitely filter a lot of those issues. I mean, and I work with Kristen a lot. I can, for the most part, depending on the issue, probably tell you what her answer is going to be.
Exactly. And, you know, it's usually 5-minute emails where he'll be like, this is what you wanted me to do, right? Yes, do that. And so these numbers will drop for me at least drastically, now that he's on board, so.
yeah, because I know the attorney on the past, well, your past few months and then plus, Mr. Scott leaving, it was an increase. It just was a bunch because it was a lot of work on both transitions, yeah. So, but I think, yeah, 30,000, I think is a good fit.
Okay, that's fine. The rest of the admin changes, I think, aren't really substantive. I mean, your audit fee is based on the audit price that we got from your company. So all those other fees are kind of just little adjustments that we've seen here and there.
So that the annual audit, it went to 9,000 now?
Yeah, that's the cost of it now, yeah. Yeah, and if you look at your current year was 9,000. So I think they just under budgeted last year.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Jason,
Yes.
on the engineering, if we already budget for 2023, 27.2, and according to what it says, the projected total for September 2023, it should be close to 40,000. We shouldn't put that closer to the 40,000 instead of leaving the 30,000, which we still have like a few months left in order to work, especially now with hurricane season that he's going to be more involved. And also the project that he just mentioned at the beginning of the year about the road pavement and all that stuff. He's going to be more involved in different situations and community. So 30,000, I don't believe he's going to cover what he's going to be getting involved in the community.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair assessment. And again, similar to the attorney, we can look at, I mean, you just reduced 10,000 from the attorney. I mean, would you guys feel comfortable maybe at 35 for the attorney or the engineer?
More.
I think, yeah, because I don't know. We need to see why the increase happened, you know, how much work he did. And also we need to utilize, like we use legal counsel when we need it, you know, not just to start giving, you know, so many. But I will suggest, like you mentioned, I don't know, yeah, between 30 to 35, because crunching our budget as how we have it, we need to have room for other things to manage the district. So I think if we go, I think 35,000 is kind of what I am. I don't know what you talking about. The engineering, because right now we are at 30,000 for the budget, but Mr. Comas, Servando Comas, he mentioning that since the projected amount is 42,000 to put it close to that amount. And then I told them about the attorney fee is at 40,000. I said that 30,000 it should be the best, you know, number for it.
Does anyone know here historically how much the engineering has on previous budgets?
I mean, I have to go back through again. We're still kind of digging through the records that we have. I mean, through the first 6 months of the year, you spent 21,000 on your engineer.
Yeah, but this year's an exceptional year with the transition. I mean, he's just been working a lot on like gathering data for stuff that the new board members have no knowledge of. So I don't anticipate that expense is going to be continuous in the following years. So I'd like to see the average, maybe the last 3 years of what we spend on engineering, and then kind of that'll give us a better idea of how much we should budget. I thought 40,000 seems pretty high.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, again, with a district of your size and infrastructure, that's, again, I've seen.
In your experience, is that the average? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you guys have a lot of infrastructure, it's aging, I mean, it needs some expertise. I mean, that's not unusual.
Okay.
So the 30,000, you're saying, the one that is unbudgeted, or to increase it to?
I think both. I think anywhere between 30 and 40 is probably a reasonable cost for this district. And we can obviously look at ways to lower that. You know, some of our districts do what you guys did at the first meeting, where the engineer shows up at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
And you guys, you know, we know that we're going to address all engineering issues at the beginning, and then he can go.
Yep.
That way it saves you a little bit of hours. So there's methods to do that. So whatever number you guys are comfortable with.
And the same thing, like what he did, he didn't show up for this meeting, but he sent this, and at least he gave us, his report without his being here, so.
I'm gonna say let's go to 35 on that.
Yep.
He has a lot of work still to do to digest all that sewer information. Still, that's gonna be a lot of analytical time as he does that.
No, I think it's fair.
Yep, so
Well,
35.
Why don't we do this? We'll initially mark it at 35. Again, I will say this is just a budget document, so it doesn't bind you in any way. If he needs to spend 40, just because there's 35 in your budget, if we need to spend it, we have to spend it on it.
Correct.
So, just for purposes of marking it, we'll do that. And we'll also go back and look at historically what like the last 3 years have been, and just kind of gauge it on that.
Yeah.
We can certainly do that.
I will add in that I will be taking a lot of the burden off him as well in terms of things like he created a scope for the depression at Viatora, I believe is the road, and he passed that off to me. Instead of having him get vendors, we reach out to our vendors. That's labor he does not have to do. So we'll help out wherever we can. But
Good. Thanks.
So, that's kind of the admin side, and again, I'll note again, you're not locked into any of this, just as some general notes.
Jason,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt.
Sure, absolutely.
So I believe the same, we had a little discussion about the attorney fees as well. That's something that we need to look again, because the 10 extra, I don't believe is enough either. We need to go higher. Because according to this, it says 40, but that was before Ms. Grisen came on board, because this just covered until March, and she only worked half of the month on that one. So April and May not included in there.
Correct.
We seen the numbers, and she's gonna be busy.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we have somebody knowledgeable and involved in the district, but her expertise costs money. Everywhere where you go, if you hire an expert, you have to pay what they went to college. I'm assuming she has a student desk as well. So that needs to go higher.
Yeah, we went 30. I think 30 is enough. And like she mentioned, it's also the way that we utilize her services. Instead of some question, you have to redirect to you, and then from there, and then that saves money to the district.
Well, we'll kind of do the same thing with both of those. We'll take your feedback, we'll look at some history, and we'll work with both Kristen and the engineer to kind of see what they think as well, so that when we bring you your next month's budget back, it'll kind of be a mesh of all those inputs. And certainly we'll get that out to you as soon as we can for input.
Thank you.
Again, we are, it's based on the records that we have, we're kind of, fumbling through this, I'd say right now. That will be forever. The presentation you see of your budget is similar to our format, but it's going to be much more expanded in your next version. We put the item text detail. We also want to, I know you had the 300,000 that was kind of for capital projects, ongoing items or reserves. We want to separate that out from your general fund, put it in a separate fund. That way it's not intermingled with your funds. You have it over here, and expenses that need to be drawn against it, the board can discuss that, and you have it tracked as a separate item. I find that's much more helpful for boards to make better decisions with when that money's not kind of all mixed
Attached,
up.
correct. Yep.
So you're saying there's gonna be a different proposed budget than this one?
Yes, yeah. This,
And when will that happen?
well, your budget hearing, your public hearing is your July 11th meeting. So
That's the first time we'll see it, or?
it's going to be this is our good starting point. We still need to go through the contracts. We need to get a better understanding of where all these inputs come from for each account line. It's probably going to be close to this. I think we've got a good start here, but there are some lines that I've already seen as we went through and started looking at the records that I think need some adjustment.
Well, we're gonna get it like a week prior, right?
Oh, absolutely. At least a week prior, as soon as we can get it. But again, we need to go through all the contracts. We need to understand how each of these lines is done. And so then on your operations side, we adjusted the field management, which includes the amendee staffing per our contract. You'll know.
No.
Before you go back to the other side.
Absolutely.
So I was hoping to get to this. I have big questions regarding the telephone, cable. I just feel this budget is astronomical for what we are utilizing. Do we have any input in terms of how we're gonna decrease this? Do we make this line number a little lower? I know it's kind of petty, but.
I'm in the process of working with Spectrum and getting, I was talking to them earlier. I need to basically just have an idea of what services we need at the building, what we're looking for, and adjust it off that. And I can tell you on average, whenever we set up a new amenity center, our internet is just for our security system, and that's it. And we're looking at under $100 a month for that. If you guys are paying more than that, I recommend adjusting services as needed.
Will that still provide like a guest option or no?
I'm sorry?
Would that provide a guest option for
We can
Wi-Fi
have a
here?
guest option, yes. And obviously, if there's 200 people that sit here and get on the internet, you're gonna log in my security system.
Well, you don't want
But
that.
the amount of people that I've seen coming in, it shouldn't be an issue.
And I think it's good just to, but that's later on, a system that you can get it where it changes the password automatically, so it drops the people.
Now, the other thing I was looking at here is, you know, the print, what is it, the printing and binding? Well, why do we have a $2,000 budget for that? We're only using electronic stuff.
No, sometimes we print things out to bring to the agenda, or to bring to the meeting,
So that's
some
for-
signed documents.
Because I realize they only spend $41
Agreed, but we think that's,
We would reserve $2,000, it's kind of like.
we may be able to reduce that further as we get to there. I look at that same thing, and I know we're bringing things on iPads, and that saves you a whole bunch.
And then the last question on this side I have was about legal advertising. What exactly is mandatory to advertise? Is it every meeting? Is it some special meetings or?
All of it.
So every meeting has to be advertised?
Yeah, so the meetings are, a schedule of the regular meetings are advertised annually, and then if you have any special meetings like tonight, you have to advertise in the newspaper at least 7 days prior to the meeting. If you have a hearing to adopt like rules, for example, any hearings that you have, so if you wanted to adopt rules or if you want to adopt a fee that you're going to place on residents, you have to have a hearing, you have to put that in the newspaper as well.
Okay. And do we know how much that actually costs us every time they have to put that in the paper?
It really, I would say it varies greatly based on the type of ad and what it is. So the annual meeting notices aren't really bad, but sometimes sometimes the legal requirement is it needs a map. It needs 4 or 5 different pages, so those can be, $400 or $500. It really, it's different for every purpose that needs to be advertised.
Okay.
Does that have to be the newspaper, or can it be like on the Osceola County website?
Yeah, good question. So the statute was recently revised to allow it to be on like a county's website or a CDD's website that's designated by the county for publication purposes, but Osceola County has not done that yet, so. As of right now, it's just a newspaper.
The other catch we're urging people on is that there's nothing in the statutes that precludes the counties from charging for that service as well.
Gotcha.
So we don't really even know if that's gonna be a cost savings to the district.
But it's something that we follow, and so, as soon as, if something changes in that regard, if Osceola County makes an announcement that we can utilize their website, then we'll be certainly doing that.
What if we were to, I know we have scheduled 9 meetings. What if we were to announce 12 meetings and pull back? That we could potentially use one of those later for a special meeting.
Right,
Is
right.
that who of us to look forward and say we'll publish 12 and it's easier to pull back?
Absolutely, because you face no penalty for canceling meetings, you don't need to republish notice of cancellation or anything like that.
A lot of our clients will publish like a meeting every month, they publish it, and, we work with the board and the chair, if there's no pressing business, we just cancel it. Or that, hey, every quarter we're gonna cancel them. And so you just kind of schedule that.
And then,
but if you have it scheduled, it's on the books, it's scheduled, and you don't have to do a special advertisement.
I think that's probably what we do with us.
And then to cancel it, we don't need to do anything.
Nope, nothing.
Okay.
Typically what we'll do is one of us will show up here and put a sign on the door, just so in case anybody shows up, we put a sign up on the door.
Got it.
In our office. That's kind of just standard if you cancel.
And by when do we have to decide on next year's schedule of meetings?
I think we've got a September meeting.
So that's where we'll decide?
Yeah, we typically, you have many meetings scheduled for the whole fiscal year. So we would look at sometime August, September to set that for next year. Everybody go to the first page, please?
Yeah, we're good, I'm sorry.
All right, no worries. So the second page, we start at the top. Again, we've adjusted field management based on our contract. The next big change that we've made was under the contracts and security services. So we've included the gate repair in 2023, and we've excluded the Embarrass system from 2024, which is why there's a reduction there. Right now, we're budgeting $1,500 a month, for the new, whatever the new access system is. It's just a placeholder until I can get a number, but we felt like that was a good number, for monthly services for whatever the new program is gonna be. That also includes an additional $1,500 as his PM service was an annual $1,500, so all that's kind of in there. When you go down to pools, the prior manager had an increase recommended there to 18,000. So we just went ahead and plugged that in for now. We still need to, we need to go through the contracts, we need to get a scope, and that might change based on the services of the board. So again, that was more of a placeholder number.
What's the RA mean?
Repair maintenance. So under that,
This pool, pools.
Oh, the pools.
and that's your contracted pool, so again, I'm not sure exactly why he recommended that increase. But until we got, I just took his recommendation at this point.
But that's the thing, I don't know what this number is there, because I remember that the contract was voted in last year, it was 13,000. So I don't know why he got 7,000 in here.
Now that we have all the records, we can start looking through that and kind of getting a better handle.
Gotcha.
7,000 for just the first 6 months.
That's a budget, the adopted budget. For the pool, well, the contract was 13 something.
Yeah, so again, we just need to get
There's
a,
no action.
we'll have to get a handle on that. One item I will note, that again, it looks like we're gonna need to change is, the contracts for security services, for the Parks and Rec. Obviously, a lot of that is the guard that's here, and that was not included in the original budget you had, which is why he shows 15,000 spent for the first 6 months. And we only have a budget of about 6,000 there. So based on the next discussion that we have later on the staffing here for the amenities and how you want to do that, we'll make adjustments to that line, based on that security services that's provided here.
So with the current schedule, it's $15,000 a year?
It's about $30,000 a year. Current schedule.
With the current schedule?
So that's one item that we noted, as we finally got through the records, we wanted to check on that, we'll change that, based on part of the discussion we'll have later. Refuse removal, again, that's just kind of based on current usage. R&M pools, we increased that kind of based on some of our initial assessments of some of the repairs that we need for the pool, plus the age of your equipment. We thought kind of the 9,700 is probably a little low. So we got that up for the year. The rest of that kind of remains the same, and we reduced the transfer out to capital projects essentially just to balance the budget so that you stay within your assessment measures. So that's kind of the sum total of all the changes that we made throughout all those account lines.
In the last meeting, I mentioned something about the sheriff patrol system, that we had 100 hours left. We only have 50 left, starting June 1st. So if we keep using, that means that we're gonna go way over budget, and we have to watch a line.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna be part of a discussion we'll have tonight too. We'll make adjustments to that line based on whatever the board determines to see. Let me see what it said. Yeah, I think I covered all those. And again, we anticipate some changes to this based on our format, based on our reviews, and once we get comfortable all the contracts. And as always, it's important to note that the budget doesn't lock you into anything. So even if you adopt a budget, in July, we may come back to you in August and go, okay, based on what we've seen for the last 3 months now, here's some changes we recommend. And you can always make changes to your budget throughout the year. It's not a thing that locks you in. I look at budgets as a planning tool, so you're kind of planning your expenses, but it in no way binds the board to any one account line or any expense that the board doesn't wish to spend.
Jason, you have a line here for miscellaneous contingency.
Yes.
I saw that we budgeted last year 8,000. Now you projected 16,000. In your company, what do you consider miscellaneous contingency?
Under Parks and Recreation, that would typically just be minor repair type things. So if we have to buy supplies here for the rec center, if we have to buy a lock break, something small, or something that doesn't easily fit into one of the other categories. That's one of those lines that we're going to look at as we go through the process. Again, we're not sure why the original proposed budget had such a jump from 8,000 to 16,000 with no other real expenses to back it up. So we're going to have to look at that one.
But once you get the records, you're gonna have a clear picture of what exactly.
Yeah, we've got them now, we just had, it's a lot, it's a kind of volume we go through, so we're digging through them piece by piece. Again, I think your budget will change, I don't expect it to change significantly, I think a lot of these lines we were able to kind of put together at least a good picture on, but there will be some refinements in that between now and then.
Trust me, I try to see where we can squeeze it, but it's tight.
That is a note I'll make, I mean, your budget is not exorbitant,
It's hard to believe how we were spending so much money on gate and still making the numbers work. It makes sense.
you know,
I think that they were using the pipe and, structure money. It says,
Sounds like that.
and that's something, yeah, that we need to. So did you look at the pipe and structure? That one is something that we need to look on for the next budget. For
So, yeah,
July.
I did discuss that with your engineer, he recommended leaving it where it was, so we left it at the 183 for now. Again,
But we need for the roads, because
Yeah.
that's for pipe, but we don't have nothing for the roads, so that's something.
So it's there, it's bookmarked, if something changes and you guys want to use that for a different project, it's about setting the priorities that you guys
Gotcha.
would like.
Now, is it necessary to always have that line item, or why can't we just create like a reserve for that and just reserve funds
Yep.
whenever it's needed rather than impacting the budget?
You absolutely can, and in some of our districts, so that's probably the biggest large scale repair you have.
Yep.
In most of our budgets, that would be something that we would transfer out to capital projects, and then it would be in the capital project fund as an expense. Again, we like to separate, kind of the repairs, the day-to-day stuff from larger scale capital projects for tracking purposes.
Yep.
So, I mean, if that's the desire of the board, I think that actually makes it a little cleaner, we can certainly accommodate that.
Yes.
I definitely would like you to kind of stick to, what you guys are used to using and doing, so that makes it easier for us to understand and easier for you guys to explain to us what things mean, because obviously there's gonna be things that are gonna look remarkably different, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And again, if you go through that, you see anything else, you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call. Again, we're happy we're gonna be as flexible as we can on this, within reason. And again, now that we've got some records, we can actually make some better projections and all that.
Awesome.
What's the status of that? Do you have anything today that you received from them?
So we've gotten right now, I'll have an update on it later as well. We've gotten 3 boxes of physical records that were in their celebration office. We got a huge dump of electronic stuff, so that's accounting records and electronic records. I think as I indicated in my email, they're loosely organized, so we're having to kind of go through each one, categorize it, put it into I told you we had that server, so we're taking it piece by piece, renaming it, putting it on our server. The biggest key that we're still waiting on is we're trying to get access to we need all that banking access so we can get the bank account set up and make payments to the vendors. That's kind of the big piece we're missing right now.
Wow, so you still doesn't have access to the bank?
What needs to happen for that?
We're making contact with Infomark to get that all set up. We're kind of moving up the chain.
And that's something.
So if Infomark doesn't cooperate, I'm sorry, man.
Oh, no, go ahead.
If Infomark doesn't cooperate, what do we do? Because, I mean, historically, I don't think Infomark is gonna be complacent with anything.
I'm comfortable that they'll cooperate.
Okay. That's reassuring.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something we're letting go. We can't.
We can't. We have that early termination agreement also that they're bound to, so hopefully I don't need to get involved.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to cut down on the time that I'm spending to reduce attorney's fees, but I'm happy to, and we can get it done.
I guarantee you will.
We'll get it knocked out.
Okay, discussion.
So any other questions on the budget, you can definitely get to me. The next item is a discussion of off-duty patrols. I know that based on the discussion at the last meeting, we kind of had enough to get us through the next few weeks of that, so we wanted to discuss with the board on how you want to proceed with any future of those patrols, so we can get those scheduled. I think we're scheduled through next week at this point. And I've got a note to put in any future requests tomorrow, should you guys request more. Again, I don't have an ETA on the gates right now, so to the extent that impacts your decision.
And that's the dilemma, is that we don't have anything to us at the gate, and the gate could have been easily transitioned, prior to this turnover, and there was delays on our part as well, so we have to take responsibility for that. And now it seems like the deposit is the issue that's holding everything back, huh?
Well, and the depression.
And the depression, the new depression that we just found out about.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the point is we're using a lot of security patrol because the gate's not functioning, right? And that's basically the goal, is to try to maintain some degree of safety. I think once the gate is up, I think we won't need security patrols from the sheriff's department hardly ever, because they're here basically to, enforce traffic laws, and, they're very limited on what they can do, and our biggest problem is protecting our amenities. I think that's where our biggest problem is. I mean, the summer is here, and we already started, hearing from neighbors here and there that people are starting to come here at night at different times, and they're starting to infiltrate again, which we dealt with this last year as well. So, I don't know what the solution is, because we can't have someone here 24/7 right now with the budget we have. But I'd like to get some ideas from everybody in terms of how we can best maximize security for the least amount of money we possibly can.
Well, I think that's the next item we have is kind of discussion for the amenity center staffing. So if we want to kind of tackle one and then the other, I think that's maybe the best way. I think Jared and I have been talking. I think your best bang for your buck, if you really want to, is to expand that security guard hours that are here. It's cheaper than the amenity staff that we have here on the weekends that kind of helps residents. And a security guard, provides a different level.
So this amenity staff thing is rather new here. It didn't exist until maybe a year or two ago. And I think, I'm not sure because I haven't attended meetings during that time, but my understanding at the time prior to the attendant being here, everyone had to go to Celebration to do any transactions with the CDD, which is a burden on our residents. The fact that the attendant is here doing that does help, but how much of that is she actually doing? You understand? So my question is, if we decide to do away with the attendant altogether to maximize security, how would GMS handle the transaction of business with the residents in terms of access? And
I'd have to run that through our management staff. Part of, as I understand it, part of the way the contract was bid was because there is an attendant here. At some point, again, we knew that some of the hours might get changed around, but that does provide both Jared and myself a person that's here that can get eyes on the project in the weekend, can pull video, and can do some of those functions like helping your residents. But there may be some other arrangement.
so let me rephrase that. How customarily do you guys operate that in other communities?
In other communities, there is a separate, it's an amenity management fee, and there's staff in our office that kind of run that process. So there is some kind of.
So is that, you think, going to be less or more or the same as what we're paying for the attendant?
Likely less, but again, somebody's not here. And currently that person that's in the attendant is responsible for cleaning the room a couple times a week while they're here. So there are some functions that would get removed from that. And there are certainly other ways we can tackle. There's janitorial companies that may be able to do that a little more efficiently. And there may be ways that, once we kind of have gone through it a couple times, Jared and I will certainly look for ways that, if we could bring a janitorial company in, maybe a Friday and a Monday, and then you could take a day off that attendant. So then you only have the attendant Saturday, Sunday, which is when the room seems to be booked the most.
Correct.
I do think when the room is booked, you definitely want somebody here.
Why?
Basically what we've experienced at other properties, let's say I book a party and I say, hey, we're gonna have 10 people here. Then there's 90 people out in the pool because all their high school friends came over, and it just turns into a disaster. Having somebody on site as a presence is just a natural deterrent, and they can make sure they come leave the facility on time. If there's any damage, it's instantly provable who did it. There's a bunch of benefits that go towards, and I can say, like in one of our other properties, they're there from the moment the pool opens to the moment the pool closes. They make sure that all the pool rule facilities are being, all pool rules are being followed. They help with if there's any access card issues or reservations, any things of that nature. It's a big help, and
previously attended, that has not been the case. I mean, she comes in, she cleans for an hour or two, then she sits in the office and just waits for people to come knock on her door. And she's here, I did hear from certain residents that when they rented the clubhouse, that she is helpful to them in terms of helping them set up and everything like that. But the resident that rents the clubhouse is not paying for that. We are, you know, and what we're charging for renting the space right now doesn't really cut it. We're at a loss every time we rent this, you know, especially with that, when they added security to it, you know. And I just think we have all this sophisticated camera system, but we have eyes on everything. Why do we need somebody to stand here? If we see somebody violating something during their rental, we should have somebody maybe on call that can come in and deal with it at that moment, if that's the important thing. But I don't see the purpose of having someone just hanging out here or, you know, just being around for a party. You know, that, you know, most residents, I think, are pretty reasonable, and most of them are going to do and follow the rules, I think. Occasionally you will get some, and that has happened even with the attendant. I mean, there's been parties here where the cars are piled up outside to the wazoo, and, you know, the attendant is very limited on what they're going to be able to do about that. You know, aside from calling the police, and, you know, that hasn't been very helpful, too, in the past. So I don't know. I tend to not support the idea of having an attendant. I support an idea of having some as-needed type coverage during those events. And if something were to go down, you know, maybe they can monitor cameras intermittently here and there. If something were to go down, and have them come in and get paid more for that. But, you know,
I will say.
But having the security, because the security can do the same thing as that you mentioned, you know, watch who's coming in
That's
and
kind of
out.
where I was going. Yeah, I mean, the as-needed stuff is going to be pretty difficult for GMS to tackle. Just because we don't, you know, it's hard for us to hire a person if we have no idea of, you know, what their current hours are going to be or how that's going to go. So versus we can, you know, if you give us till next meeting, I made contact with the security company. We can ask them, hey, if we provide you a schedule, you know, a week in advance, can you cover this date, this date, this date, this date?
Right.
The other thing that a lot of our districts do is, you know, you don't have to stick with those fees that you're charging for room rental as well. You can add that security to that fee.
That's where I was getting to. So I like the idea of security instead of an attendant. I like that idea because that's more useful. Now also, we can't have an elderly female as our security guard because they're not going to respect her and she's at risk of being hurt. You understand? I think we need someone that is at least visually, you know, like no one would mess with because that's security. But if you put an elderly person that barely, you know, can run, I mean, then the kid's gonna run around and do it because the most problems we have here with youngsters running around doing things they're not supposed to. You understand? And I just think, since you're going to contact security, if you can look into maybe having the appropriate security guard here,
And to speak both.
and then that I think would make a remarkable difference in not having attendance.
And make sure that person speaks both English and Spanish fluently.
That'd be ideal,
Yeah,
but I think I'm not
but
sure we can.
not having that, you know.
I believe there will be some restrictions on those types of things.
Okay.
I will do whatever we can to
Yeah.
facilitate, but I think we have to manage expectations on that. I agree with you about the security, and like I said, if you'll let us look into janitorial services as well, I think we can get rid of
I agree with that as well.
And for the fees, can you, if for that event, can you add instead of the security, the attendance? Let's say, for example,
Sure, I mean, you can create those rules however you want.
So we need to do a public hearing.
As
on all
she's
that.
gonna, as your council will go through with the parking rules, I mean, there is a rulemaking process.
Gotcha.
If you're going to make changes to any rules, I suggest trying to do those all at once.
At once, okay.
Because it is a lengthy process, it requires advertisement, and it's better to do them all at once.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but you have full discretion. If you want to charge $1,000 per event, we have CDDs that charge $1,000 per event.
I know,
Okay,
ours
so
is real cheap.
I think it should be commensurate with the risk also the CD's taking. Because I'm saying if someone's having a kid's birthday party and a baby shower, I think the risk is a little lower than if you're having a wedding, let's say, or an adult birthday party. You understand? So I think, you know, that's kind of something we need to gauge and kind of come up with a new
So usually the rules state if you have 20 guests or less, this is the amount. If you have 50 plus, this is the amount. If you have 100 plus, this is the amount. So
Right,
you
like
have
an a la carte type
discretion.
thing.
Absolutely,
But then
yeah.
with certain parties though, have that requirement, that for example, you're having a wedding here, you're required to have security, you understand? And that has to be something they have to add to the.
Yeah, and we have that in our draft
Yeah.
for special events policy, so that wouldn't require me to do anything. I can just send that to Jason and he can distribute that to you all.
And the other
That's
thing that I
something you
can
can look
do,
through and see what elements you like in there.
to kind of gauge your individual opinions on your rules, is I can just circulate you out a copy of our current set of rules.
Yeah.
And then you can provide me all your comments before we even get to council. So we can collect all of your comments and then try to bring you back something that incorporates the thoughts that the board might
Yeah.
have.
I'd like you to at least though see what other CDDs are doing, so
I like that.
it won't be billing for that, I'm just going to email Jason.
Especially the CDDs with tight budgets, I'd like
Yep.
to see what they do.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, it is fair that there is, you know, if you've got an attendant here and you've got security here, that a $25 fee to rent the room
Yeah.
probably doesn't cover even just the liability of having them in here, let alone the staffing.
Yep.
We need to look into those fees, they are too low. They've been
Yeah.
here for a long time. As a matter of fact, we should entertain the idea to charge the attendant or the security person fee to the person renting the room. I understand that maybe it's a birthday for a kid, but they bring alcohol. And when people get alcohol, pool, music, women around, and things can get feisty. So I don't know if we can entertain the idea to have like a kind of, public hearing to discuss that, with the community, even that we are the ones making the decision. But that's something that will bring more revenue for the district, and also will, share the burden with the rest of the community, especially who's renting the room. There is nowhere that you can find a room like this for $25 an hour.
Correct. We need to upgrade
But
that.
extrapolating on that, we have a lot of amenities here that could also be rented for events, picnics and stuff like that. It's not just this room. I mean, we're
We'll
missing
see.
out on this stuff.
Just
But
for
it's a-
limited time, and Jared can chip in if I'm speaking out of turn or assessing it wrong. I mean, you guys do have a lot of use of this facility.
Correct.
Probably more than most of our other facilities.
Yeah, and that's the thing, we need to start looking at the future, start generating something for the district.
If the board wants to, it's the board's meeting, so if they want to recognize them, they can, otherwise we can continue, it's really up to you guys.
Go ahead, quick.
So real quick, one thing is, like I said earlier, we come to the pool a lot, and the security guard who's in her 50s, I've seen her go after the kids, and the kids do listen. She's got a pushover, just wanted to defend her a little bit. And secondly, I'm in favor of raising the prices of the rental of this room to cover the security too. Because we're still going to be cheaper than them going to a other facility to rent it. So, my 2 cents.
So we'll look at, obviously the rules and how we staff it. Are you okay with us keeping the amenity attendant at least for now? I guess that's kind of the question. We've got somebody already.
So that's what I'm about to ask you. So let's see, for example, like Cordova was saying, so in the past, we never had that. So everybody was going to that office, getting the cars, getting whatever they need. So in your case, let's say, for example, that the proposal, you never saw that we have a person here. How you will, make the proposal, to our community? Should we go, to your office and say, I need a key, and then you create it, and then I pay whatever I have to pay just to get the key or the sticker or.
Yeah, a lot of our districts do it through the mail essentially, or they can come to our office in downtown. So let me talk to our management, see what they would do.
I totally encourage the idea of getting rid of the attendant per se as it exists today. But to increase security services, kind of replacing them,
Using that budget.
But I also would like to come up with a way that the residents don't have to drive across town to go get keys and access and deal with their issues.
So a lot of our Davenport side and campus side districts, they don't have any site attendants whatsoever. If they need any type of access, we have our staff that they can reach out to, and it's on over the phone or online. They get them the cards and everything. There is no traveling back and forth unless they're looking for something immediately. So we can reach out to.
I think even once a month, twice or once every other month to kind of have someone come for a couple hours just to do kind of in the evening, just to do kind of transactions with the residents, that would be fine too. I mean, there's different ideas, and, you know, I like the whole remote thing, and I think the majority of the community would be okay with that.
Because you're gonna have people emailing all day, every day, and having somebody remote that's designated for answering those type of things, it just makes a better experience for everybody.
So I'll talk to our owners on that and see what the change would be, and I can bring that back to you at the July meeting.
Yeah, because I know the proposal that we signed, they have the 20,000, the field, and then the extra, it was that if we wanted it or not, you know.
So just to be clear, that we're keeping the attendant for now until we can figure out the logistics on how we're gonna transact business.
You guys have, I would recommend the attendant for now, until you guys can make a different decision, because you do have already scheduled almost every weekend between now and August at least.
Really? Can we, like, look at, what was Friday's traffic? So even though I'm permitting your own more often, was just saying busy on Fridays? I'm thinking most people are working on
Yeah, it
Fridays.
was most on,
Yeah, we had someone-
Saturday and Sunday. That was the day of the party. Friday it wasn't. Friday she was here just cleaning, getting some keys and.
I'm thinking more like
I
Saturday,
find it hard
Sunday.
to believe that every day somebody comes for keys and stuff like that. I think that's a very sporadic thing. Really?
I've been emailed just today alone by about 6 different people, but
And
whether it be
I'm getting them in
car-
my office too, so we refer them to come, who would come Friday, Saturday, Sunday, here are office hours. But I mean, yeah, I think if we can, I think through July 11th, let us look at janitorial, because my initial thought was, if we got janitorial in for Friday and Monday, then you could at least cut the attendant out for Friday, because I do concur that Saturday and Sunday is probably much busier.
Now, is janitorial services cheaper than an attendant per hour, if you average it out?
Based on what I've seen in other districts, yes, for a day, I think.
Because I mean, the place does need to be upkeep, and a lot of the times, Mondays are the days where it's a disaster.
Well,
People have been here all weekend.
That's why I was
bathrooms
thinking
are dirty,
you do it.
and she's gone.
That's why I was thinking you do it Friday, which is before the weekend starts, and then you do it Monday after the weekend. So it gets at least those 2 cycles. Most of our districts do 3 times, so most of our districts would do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
That sounds even better.
Clean, but let's.
That's something to start, yeah.
I'll get a couple options.
Let's get you some quotes, and then we can, we'll discuss, again, you got another meeting in less than a month, or about a month, so.
Yeah.
And I'll also talk to our owners about, the change and what that would be and how we might be able to facilitate that for you as well.
Awesome.
And so back to the off-duty patrols, or is there do we want to, I know the prior authorization really only got us through till about tonight, so is there a motion to continue that service?
Well,
Yeah, because we already are at the budget amount, so we need to then, because I
we
don't.
already used up the budget, you're saying?
Yeah,
For
almost.
the entire fiscal year?
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys gave an authorization, I think, for a certain time period, if I recall from the last meeting.
Yeah, but the amount of money that we have, I think already we're at 7,000 something, 7,000.
So we don't have any budget for it, is what you're saying?
We still have 50 hours left.
Yeah.
So I would like to see just use that up until the gate is set up.
What you
know,
say?
well, 50,
No,
50.
we don't
We
have
said
that. We don't have that. We already approved.
How can we find out?
Because
How many hours? How much
But
time?
even at 50 hours, if they're doing 3 patrols at 4 hours a week, so they're doing
1 month.
it's about a month, so it'll only get you through till, we wouldn't even be able to carry that service through.
I already approved, the
But
board
that gate
also
should be
approved.
up within a month.
Does the
If,
Mateo work, the pavement work, does that need to be completed before the gate is put up?
It would be
Well,
ideal to coordinate it because they gotta put
The
leaves
sensors.
in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I think we just got the additional 88,000 some for the depression from Mateo.
correct.
Right,
And then, but I
yesterday.
also told them just to make sure to find more proposals on that depression.
Okay.
Because, just to see where we
Okay,
stand,
so-
because it's
Okay, so is it that the
Spirits
gate,
are
so that the Kings can't begin the work until Mateo is finished?
correct. Well, they can start getting the equipment. They can start getting to put some of the equipment. They can do some things. Yeah, but they
Okay.
need the money to start. I know they can take the gates.
So that
You know.
depression stuff is concrete work, right? Is it?
Well, they need to do the
I-
concrete, the 12 feet, and then also the engineer is saying that we need to do 12 feet by 18 feet of pavement of that area where the depression is. For me, that's too long, but anyway, he's saying 12 feet and wide and 18 long that we need to do pavement. They need to go to the base.
Can we get an opinion from someone that does road work? Of what they think needs to be done?
Yeah, we can reach out, yeah.
Okay, so you know, the depression that we're speaking about by the gate, they want an additional proposal, okay.
Yeah, because I know that 12 feet, I think it is, the wide of the concrete, 12 by 12, so that's,
But to
I
answer
know.
your initial question, I mean, the gate could be installed without messing with the pavers, because the guy can cut those leads into the pavers.
Correct.
Now, so it's not an essential that happen.
No.
As soon as the King's access is ready to go, they should start working on the gates.
What they need is just the
deposit.
whatever, the deposit. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, thanks.
So I'm hoping that gate could be put up in less than a month so that we can kind of at least back off of this need for police officers.
Yeah.
Okay,
I will reach out to them and see if we can get a more concrete timeline of what their plan is. If there's any permitting or anything involved in that, that could be the biggest thing slowing down the process. I don't understand.
and can we,
And materials.
I guess, let's see, so Infomark, I believe, is on until tomorrow, is their contract to help transition. Do you know, are the bank accounts still in their name? I mean, I wonder if we can request that they pay the initial deposit. Maybe,
We can reach out.
okay, maybe we can send an email after this meeting to try to
Especially
get
since you
that.
don't have access to the finances right now.
Right,
Yeah, that'd
so
be
if that's
a fair
holding,
request,
yeah, it's kind of a domino effect, so, okay.
So
Why don't we try to do
realistically,
that? They are contracted to continue working with us.
realistically, are we looking to the gate like mid-July?
I'm sorry?
Realistically, are we looking for the gate at mid-July?
I mean, if everything goes great, that's probably a good estimate.
That is optimistic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Goal-oriented optimistic would be 2 weeks to within 30 days.
So,
Permitting.
let me get this straight. How much time do we need to find out if we're good to go on everything? Because I feel like now we're kind of backtracking and doing stuff we should have done before we approved that, you know, before we got rid of repair. Now, I thought this was just something the contractor was gonna take care of, and now we're trying to talk about permits, we're trying to talk about, oh, this should have been
No,
kind
no
of
permit.
hindsight.
No, permit.
What I'm saying is with the permits is if there's any type of permitting involved that is required for them as a vendor, you have to wait for that period.
My question is, when will we know
they
that?
have-
My question is, when will we know that?
I will make phone calls tomorrow.
Yeah, we've reached out to them several
Yeah,
times.
so I feel we burned a month here and we don't have that information, and that should have been, I know it's not your fault, because you guys took over on the first, but, you know, it's just very frustrating for me to see that we burned a month without a gate and just kind of waiting to see what we're gonna do next, you know?
Well, I can assure you that both council and myself have been in constant contact with the vendor.
And the scope came later about
Yeah,
the
and-
depression. It just came
Right,
this
and
week.
that's something the engineer should have took care of ahead of time too.
Yep, since
That
you told
depression's
us.
been there for over a year.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, the gate can go in without the paperwork, so I don't think
Okay.
that the paperwork should hold the gate.
Okay,
All right, so if the paperwork needs permitting, then so be it. The gate should go in as soon as it's feasibly and legally possible.
okay.
I will have, we're trying to answer pretty much.
Thank you.
Does
And
the engineer says anything about that the papers need to be done before the gate or no? According to.
I don't think he's made an opinion on
No.
that.
Can you find out, with him before we go ahead? Please, thank you.
And so for the police, obviously, we are already at the kind of margin mark. So if we're gonna do an extra, obviously, we go above budget, and if we need 4 more weeks, it's gonna be $3,183.36. If we decide it, if not, then we stop.
So what I haven't had answered, he says we have 50 hours, you're saying we have no hours, so we need to find out. I want to see us utilize security as the sheriff as much as possible without going over budget, because we're already tight on the budget and we cannot afford to spend another $3,000 on that.
So as I said before, I approved the first 4 weeks, and we approved the other 4 weeks. That's already almost $7,000. So we got and plus they used before the deputy here, it was around $200-300. So we are around $7,200. So we got
We need to know the
$300.
concrete numbers.
Yeah, so we got $300 left. It's 1 day of patrol to do.
It's not good.
No. No, we don't have. If we had the 14,000 budget, then it was good.
So, I mean, where will we get more money to continue that? That's the question.
Well, I mean, essentially it's gonna come from your fund balance carry forward, which, I mean, it's not reflected in here, but we do feel comfortable with kind of what the fund balance projection they showed you in your original budget. We didn't want to give you a number since we didn't have full access to everything to be able to really tie everything out.
I don't think we're gonna decide that. I think you need to kind of, by the next meeting, let us know
Okay.
exactly.
So right now, until when we got the deputy?
I've got a note to give them, I got a note to put a new schedule in tomorrow if we need it.
No, because we did 4 weeks.
No, we did, but you have to put the request in several weeks in advance. So I've got it scheduled.
Oh, so if you didn't put the whole 4 weeks, then we got money on it.
No, what he's trying to say is how much have we already used?
So you're doing it every week, right?
I put in, I gotta find that email.
Actually, while he does that, I can go into my report.
Yeah.
If he wants it, just so we can try to utilize time as much as possible. Okay.
Okay.
All right, great. So I have a couple items for you today. As you know, you had directed me to take a look into the parking and towing, and I know the board wanted to reinitiate that policy that's currently in place. And so I did not get their records until last week, actually, from the prior council, but now I have them. I was able to review the rule that you have in place. It's a little bit different. It was passed by a resolution, which is 2022-02. I received some.
Can you say that number again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's resolution 2022-02. And I can distribute it to everyone after the board meeting if you'd like, or after my report. But basically, so I've reviewed it. I think that I believe that it's compliant with Florida statutes. A couple of things that caught my attention when you read this rule, it's not immediately clear what you can do and what you can't do. Okay, for example, in 1A, it says that you're prohibited from parking on any street having a right-of-way of less than 50 feet. If I'm reading this, I don't know, there's no map attached, there's no street identification attached to this to let me know what roads are less than 50 feet. In addition, there's just statute sections listed out. So you're not permitted to park in any manner that violates 3 statute sections. I'm not seeing that. I also saw in like the definition section, it's defining vehicle, commercial motor vehicle, recreation vehicle, etc., as defined by the Florida statute. So if you were reading this, if one of your residents were reading this, they would have to go online, pull up the statute section, and then understand what that statute section, when some of them are not totally clear, the legislature is not clear on everything.
And I've done that, and the statutes are quite confusing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, and I received some comments too from individuals saying, like to make it more clear so that when we pick up the rule, it's clear where I'm allowed to park, where I'm not. Let's put a map, let's identify by street names, etc. Okay, so I did the best I could to get something together before the meeting. I apologize. Usually I'll have things out and included in your agenda for board meetings, but based on circumstances, this was what I was able to put together for you today. So I've emailed the board. It'll be part of the record, so members of the public will be able to see it as well. But you can see I based this on other CDD rules that we work with. There are parking and towing rules. They, I think, are a little bit more clear. And there's also exhibits that are attached to this proposed rule that's going to list and map out all of the district roadways, because I understand some roadways in the CDD are privately owned. And then it's going to also map out and list the roadways containing a width of less than 50 feet. So I've tried to incorporate all of the original prohibitions that were in Mr. Clark's rule, and then add other things that I think may be helpful, such as not parking in a manner that blocks access to mailboxes within 15 feet of fire hydrants, no blocking sidewalks, no blocking driveways, etc. So there is some language already in this previous rule that prohibits that action, but it's not immediately clear when you look at it, okay? So this was really just more so provided to you for a guideline to be able to see what other CDDs are doing, and you're free to adopt something like this in the future. As Jason said, it sounds like we probably want to revamp other rules that are currently in place for the CDD. We'd have to go through the hearing process, so it makes more sense to do it all at once.
Correct.
Okay? One other point in this rule, I did receive a comment question about potential permit parking within the CDD. That is permissible, so you could set up an overnight permit parking procedure. I've included that in this rule in section 4, parking permits, so that you guys can look and see, okay, what's that kind of language look like?
And I was about to ask you about that because I read it, glanced through it. So the permitting, can we, the district, have permitting just the whole day? Let's say, for example, you are authorized 1 car per household as free, and then the next, you want 2, 3, or 4
Yep.
permits,
Okay.
then you need to
Yeah,
pay
so
for
we
it.
only have jurisdiction over the right of way, not the driveway.
Correct,
Okay, so
correct.
they can put as many cars as they want on there, that would be HOA. So if you want to revise your HOA declaration, CCNRs, you could do that. You could
I'm
have-
talking about the street
Yeah,
itself.
just the street itself, you have full authority. So you can say 0 parking on the street, you can say you have to apply for a permit to park more than 1 car on the street per resident.
Okay.
You have full discretion on how you want to work that out.
Okay. It's because I noticed here in the district, we got different residents where I think they got a business where they rent vehicles and
Okay.
they use the whole street, 7, 8, 10 cars.
Now, can you charge for those permits?
You could. You could.
So that's good too. So then we need to do, like you said, in the public hearing, it's best to do the recreation plus any rule changes we're gonna do to try to do it all together.
Exactly. So, for purposes of this meeting moving forward, you've already adopted this resolution 2022-02 with your current parking and towing rules. So we can go ahead and move forward with that. You've already selected a proposal for a tow company as well. I can confirm though that the signage, so there needs to be very specific signage before you're authorized to tow under Florida law. We're not compliant with the statutes right now. And
Have we reached out to the towing company, the new towing company about that? Because
No.
they said that as soon as they get the agreement, that they would come out and put the
Perfect,
sign.
That's the typical process, is that when you sign the agreement and you authorize them, they're supposed to bring out, free of charge to the district, and post all the proper signage that's required. by the
Yeah, I
state.
think they mentioned that, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, they're gonna have the agreement by Friday, and then we're gonna get them on board, get the signage fixed, and then we'll start utilizing them, because you've already adopted this.
Can we set a date to start?
It's already.
Yeah, you can.
Instead of just like ambushing the residents and saying, "Ah!"
Yeah, right,
I'm
okay.
thinking like maybe July 1st, I mean, is that like, you
I
think
think
you
that's
have
right.
it ready by then?
As I understand it, you guys by policy kind of decided you weren't gonna tow for now until you got some of this worked out. So we're already using currently authorized rules. So I think it would just be a motion to resume the towing.
Yeah, and I believe they actually already did, but we could do a motion today to do it as of July 1st, if
Provided all
that's
the signage has been.
updated.
Yeah.
And I can
and
certainly
it's
also,
correct. Okay.
prior to that date, maybe a week before, I can send out something through the HOA with the rules attached saying, hey, as a note, the CDD intends to continue enforcing parking as of July 1st. Here are the rules. Please ask any questions that you have.
In the meantime, since, we all agree that those rules are not too clear, is it acceptable to do like, kind of like a FAQ summary of the most common violations that we see here that will be towable?
Sure.
Like, kind of like an infographic kind of thing,
Yeah, just like bullet
like
point.
just bullet points, that these are the reasons why you gotta get towed, so that this way it's kind of clear to people that even though you may not understand the rules, these are the reasons to be towed.
Yeah, so for example, maybe that's something that, again, I'm gonna punt some of this stuff off to GMS, because I'm trying to keep the attorney's
That's fine,
fees
that's fine.
within budget.
That's why I make sure it's legal.
But,
Yeah.
oh, absolutely, but I think that that's a great idea for right now. Like I said, I'm not sure what right of ways have less than 50 feet. In fact, I'm not sure if I'm a resident, what
Yeah, what it
roadways
is, yeah.
exactly these
What
apply to.
constitutes the right of way? Because in my vague lay knowledge,
Yeah.
I always thought the right of way was the part between the sidewalk and the street.
The technical term is, the right of way is the back of sidewalk to back of sidewalk.
Ah.
So everything between back of sidewalk and back of sidewalk.
So it includes the lawn portion then?
Yeah, those are called parkways or verges. So there's some CDDs that have rules just about parkway verge, so
It's not open.
that's fine, yeah, right.
So quick question, you know the tow Orlando, they provided like an automatic tow and sticker version of, you know, what they can
Warnings,
tow,
sticker
yeah, and
warnings.
warnings. So can we do that? Do you revise that? Can
Yeah,
we?
so
They have to change the
we
rules for that.
definitely are going to have an agreement for them because the CDD could face liability if our contractor tows illegally. So that agreement is absolutely
Gotcha.
necessary.
Okay.
And we're going to say you can submit warnings to violators in accordance with the law, basically.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, and so that's on them. They're familiar with the laws and the
Awesome.
warning process, so I don't think that will be an issue.
So he
It
did
is-
tell me when I spoke to him initially, he told me the vendor that, you know, they're very used to this, that's the norm, he says, is that, you know, obviously for big violations, they just take the car. But, you know, if it's something minor, then they usually give a warning, and the second time around, that's when they take the car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, so,
Kristen, you had a chance and you reviewed the whole contract with the new towing company?
no, I'm drafting the contract with
You're still drafting?
it will be my contract, yeah, we're not gonna, because there's just too much liability for the CDD to use their proposal only. Their proposal will be an exhibit to our full contract.
You had a chance to talk to Mr. Clark about the previous towing company and the difference with the one that they want to adopt?
No.
What about like, because that's one of the reserves that he has
Okay,
in regards to this new company. A lot of the liabilities they were put on this district burden instead of the towing company.
okay,
So that's something that you should check, that anything that happens while they are towing a vehicle away from the community is their responsibility. It's not the district, it's not the management company. Nobody should pay for their mistake.
Correct.
So that's something.
No, I agree with that, but I
Yep.
don't agree that we should counsel Mr. Clark, because he's not our counsel, he has no obligation.
No, I
you
mean,
said
I wouldn't
that-
authorize, I
information.
wouldn't authorize them to come on to the CDD's property without them signing an agreement.
Correct.
I'm very firm.
And they're
Any of
responsible
our
for
vendors
anything.
will sign our contract
Yep.
because we're a good client for them. And that's, I think, pretty much industry standard. I don't know if Jason can speak to that too, that, tow companies will agree to our agreement.
Correct, well, yeah.
So we need a motion to initiate towing as of July 1st?
I think that would make it clear.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
have district manager send out
Yeah.
an email blast via the HOA.
So I'll make a motion to reinstate towing rules as of July 1st, provided it's cleared by council and agreed to by management.
Email. Plus.
This doesn't have to be.
All right. Motion mentioned. Okay, I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Where is going to be the place of when they took a vehicle away from the community? Where did the residents they have to go and pick them up? Do you have that kind of detail?
Yeah, it's pursuant to Florida statutes. I believe it's within a 10-mile radius, but I can send you the exact statute section that they're required to follow by law. And they are very familiar with that.
I believe
That's
it's
what
10 miles as the crow flies, so it's not
Oh.
a direct 10 miles on the road, it has to be within
Radius.
a radius, yeah. I believe, if I remember.
Yeah, there is a very exhaustive protocol of rules that they need to follow before they're actually permitted to tow. And so that's why we have the agreement that says they will agree to follow all Florida law regarding parking and towing, in addition to our parking protocols.
Sounds good. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed? Aye. Passes unanimously. Is there a good board member to work with that is familiar with those tow rules that can help me with that FAQ that we can put out? Just so I can work with one?
Well, we
I'll
do-
take it on.
Okay,
Gotcha, so,
yeah. I would say
And
probably
what I'll do is
like,
I'll work with you, Corey, and then once we get it done, I'll circulate it to the whole board in case, so that, you know, we get some more eyes on it.
I've already pulled up these statute sections too,
Okay.
that are referenced, so I will just forward them to you. I'll do that within the meeting hour here, and then I think what would be helpful is if we can identify which right-of-ways the CD owns, that these rules apply to, and then which are less than 50 feet. Like, you know,
I think that would be most fun, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Or maybe just a few roads are 50 feet.
right.
It's mostly townhome alleyways and stuff like that, I think,
Mhm.
that they were referring to in a couple streets in the townhome section.
Okay. Okay, great. So what I'm also going to do after this meeting, I'm going to send you an example special events policy and an example parking and towing rules from another CDD. And then if you all want to take a look at that, I know there was some discussion about increasing special event policy fees, et cetera.
We're talking about the
Clubhouse.
amenities.
Exactly, yeah. So if there's things in there that you like and that you want to see in the future rule, send that to Jason, but I want to give you some examples of what other CDDs are doing so that you know you have those abilities as
So
well.
that would be the day that we decide to change rules, we can just do it all at once, is that what we're trying to do?
Yeah, you would, yeah, so we could bring back proposed rules for you all. So if Jason's comfortable with it, I think you guys have done that before, brought back proposed like special events policy would be included in the agenda. And then at that meeting, board members will be able to tweak it as much as they want within the scope of the law. And then you will pass a resolution setting a public hearing. I've actually brought examples with me because I didn't know if you were going to want to set a public hearing for this draft rule for parking and towing. And then you have the public hearing, it's again published in the newspaper and in the agenda, and any member of the public has an opportunity to speak about those rules.
Yeah. Is there any way to put on those new rules they're gonna work on for special events that, you could exempt the HOA from the fees if it's a community event?
That's up to the board, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have full flexibility in those rules as long as it's permissible under Florida statute.
I don't recommend that because it's two different agencies, two different budgets, two different funds.
And how does it impact the budget for the CDD?
It gets more revenue for the CD and we need the money.
Oh, okay. But it's the same owners, the same residents. But anyway, we can discuss that at the time.
Okay.
I'd like to see that on the policy.
Okay, so do you want Jason to bring back proposed special event policy?
Well, I think what may be best to get all, because again,
Still
we're all kind of
transition,
coming in fresh.
yeah,
I'll
okay.
circulate you the current
Perfect.
rules, and then if each one of you individually just want to give me some guidelines, just some,
Okay,
hey, I'd like to see this,
yeah.
I'd like to see that, change this, change that. We can kind of take all that suggestion and build to a policy that reflects, the vast majority of the board.
That'd be awesome.
And that way, it kind of cuts a little bit of the discussion.
And then, yeah, with the parking, we have at least that to start. That's good. What legal counsel said, we can start with that, combined with the ones, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you a Word version of this and we'll circulate it out to you all. We can just use these as working drafts right now. Okay, great. That is parking and towing. Okay, and then the other item that's included in the agenda is that memorandum regarding the legal issues related to internet. Of course, you all know that your government officials, sunshine law, public records law, ethics law, they all apply to all of your activities, including on the internet. So I'm not going to spend more time right now unless you have any questions on it. But I've just included that memorandum that I've previously circulated to the board. Okay? So that's it. That's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
I have a question on that.
Yes, sir.
So I'm assuming that the new chairman is recording all the meetings, right?
Are you recording the meeting right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. So that means that any recording that he has to be public record.
To Jason, yeah, it goes to Jason, correct.
Yeah, that's the best practice is that, if a board member's doing anything during the meeting, that's a public record. And so we're asking that a copy be sent to district manager so that he can retain that in accordance with the public records law.
So what happens if the copy of the meeting is not available?
It could be a violation of public records law.
Okay.
because the recording of the previous meeting is not available in the YouTube channel that you sent me.
It's not right now, okay. Do you have a copy of the
Yeah,
program?
I think Mr. Mena requested it, and the copy, he got the
Okay.
link, and he said he downloaded it, he said he couldn't download it, I sent him a link how to download it, because it was done through YouTube.
Okay.
So what I'm doing now is just recording itself,
Okay.
so it's easier, so then I can
Perfect.
give it to him directly, so then he got the MP4 completely, and then this one, obviously, you know.
Okay, I did follow up with Mr. Mina, and he said he's gotten the link. And so if you're saying the link, that the video is no longer available on the link, let me contact him again, or.
Now, are we intending to have all these videos using memory space on a server that we're gonna be paying for? Because that's what I'm saying, like how, are we obligated to store this video, right? Because if any one of these residents right now wanted to record, we're not entitled to ask them to give us the video.
That's exactly right. So any
Correct.
member of the
So-
public can record this and put it wherever they want.
So when we're understanding, when we're trying to talk about budget, I mean, I just want to make sure that the storage of this video is not gonna start costing us storage space and it's gonna, because I know videos are very memory consuming, and how many years are we required to keep these videos?
Well, I mean, I think there's requirements in the Florida, or there's limitations in the Florida statutes for the length of time that records must be kept.
There's a schedule that goes through every single type of record, and then.
So
specify
I'd
the
like to
time.
suggest that Chairman cease recording the meetings, but at the same time, I think that the CDD board should consider a modality in which they can provide, because, it's not fair to Chairman that he's spending his money on this equipment and everything, and then he has to just cough it up for nothing. It takes time, it takes money to make these videos, and if we're gonna start making a public record, and I think that, the residents love the videos, because when they can't be here, they can stay in tune with what's happening. So then I think that we need to add to the budget how to get equipment to record our meetings and put it on a medium where everyone can see them. And then, we don't have as board members, and no board member has to record it for any reason. And the residents are still entitled to record it whenever they want with it, But I just, I don't, that's just my opinion.
Correct. No, and I started this a while back when I was a resident. I was used to record it on my phone, here, sit down right there, and upload it, because a lot of people, as you see, are not here. So they go there and see it and review it and see all the motions and all that, so.
I'm gonna tell you, I logged in to the phone number when I was running tardy after leaving work, and I could barely hear anything. Like, Jason, I could hear clearly because he's closer to the mic, but what Kristen was saying, I couldn't hardly hear it.
I was having to say, we're gonna clear up, there were actually two different calling numbers circulated, so it created some confusion, we're gonna clear all that up.
Yeah, because I don't see the point of that if people can't understand what's happening, So we need to fix that.
I agree.
Yeah, thanks.
So do you think we have an option like that like the CDD can, get some type of equipment where they can, let's say, for example, also the audio, just get the audio clips,
Well, the audio we keep with our records, that's not, if anybody calls and asks for the audio, I've got the two recorders, and those are available.
But like people have to call, it's just to call, request it, it's not like it's available,
We don't typically store those kind of files on the website just because of the size, and
Gotcha.
it's kind of bog the website down, but it's always available for anybody that requests it.
Now, does GMS have equipment that they use on other communities or anything? Is that like
We
an
don't
option
typically do video recording of our meetings, so that'd probably be something, if this board was interested, we'd have to kind of go out and do some research, get some good equipment, and bring you back down to the cost of what that would be.
Because even if we don't do video, if we do audio, at least get some mics that will pick up everybody speaking.
We can look at for different options that.
Yeah, super awesome.
So for the meetings, because now that the point is there, what we're gonna do moving forward as a
That's
board.
up to you. I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but my recommendation is that you stop recording because you're investing time, money, effort, and this is of no benefit to you, only to the residents. But if you feel that you're okay with doing it, and you wanna keep doing it, then that's fine, that's on you. I'm just making a suggestion.
Gotcha.
So Kristen, once he records the meeting, who's the owner of those records? The district or the chairman?
That's a good question. So,
It's a great question.
so district management company is the appointed record custodian, but you all have duties as board of supervisors to retain your records. So you could be subject to personal liability for violation of the public records law.
The reason I'm asking all those questions is the previous meeting was available on the YouTube channel that was shared through Gabriel. That video is no longer available. The video is private.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's a violation of public, destruction of public records.
It could be. It could be. You know, it could be. So.
Yeah, the link is there. It's on the, yeah, it's on
So if
YouTube.
you just download that and just
Yeah.
forward
Send
it
it.
over to
Okay.
Jason.
And send it to
And,
him. I
you
do
know,
that.
We'll store it on our record server. There's not an initial cost to put new records on the record server.
Yeah, we never have any
Because
issues.
you know, I think the easiest thing, and this is such a big deal for some of us, is why don't we just put the YouTube link on the website? Just call it that.
And
Then
then,
he can continue
As
doing
long
what he
as the
wants
link
to
is
do.
public and there's no
Yeah.
restrictions to accessing it, that's an alternative as well.
I don't believe there's any.
But it also has to
restrictions.
not,
All of us
you
get
know,
to
it
see it.
also,
Yeah, I
the
mean,
challenge to
there's-
that is it also, the record has to be retained somewhere.
Yeah.
So that if, I mean, again, this is all theoretical and challenging, but if YouTube goes down and somebody says, hey, there was a video and I can't access it, now you're preventing me from public access, so that we have to have a copy of it retained.
and that's what I was
That's
asking.
the threat
Yeah.
of, you know,
Gotcha.
and this is the thing too, these laws were created and they've not necessarily caught up with current day technology. And so, you know, that's part of the reason I put this memorandum in the agenda is to say, look, these are potential risks of actions that, you know, putting things out on the internet, there's not exactly case law that's specific on every little thing, but these are things we should consider.
But let's forget about the internet for a second, right? God forbid, lightning strikes GMS's headquarters where they keep all this crap and it burns and it's destroyed. What are we gonna do then? We're gonna sue GMS for that?
They have
records are in
backup.
the cloud, so.
No, but
Let's say,
let's say
the
the
cloud gets burned, let's say.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of a near impossible happening, but nothing is impossible. It can happen. So are you gonna be held liable for those records? No. So if YouTube burns or goes down or disappears, I don't see how we are liable for it when this board is in agreement to continue to do this. You
Yeah,
understand?
I think bottom line, any public records that you have, that you're recording, that you're taking notes, et cetera, during the meeting, provide them to
from
Jason.
there.
And they have insurance, they are qualified to be the record custodian, so.
Or if we got somebody, then somebody can record it and that's it. We don't have to provide anything because somebody, a resident
Any
can.
member of the
Right,
public
that's
can
what
record it and they can put it anywhere.
Gotcha.
All right.
So,
I did get back to the sheriff's office, so we do have schedules right now through June 17th.
correct. Okay.
So that it's scheduled now through June 17th.
Yeah, because we
So
did it
we-
on May 24th,
I
correct.
mean,
So after June 17th, but we're tapped with the budget. That's the question. We're tapped with the budget. As of July 17th, we have no money appropriated for the sheriff.
it's gonna be pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last email you and me had, we got 7,500 for 2023. They used 406.
Yeah.
Then we used 3,183.36 the first 4 weeks. Then we have around 3,900 left
Yeah.
to do. And that's when we pick up the other 4 weeks.
Correct. Well, I picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I picked up another 3 weeks, so we still have another week,
Okay.
about another week or so left.
So do we need to make a motion to continue sheriff patrol until the budget's exhausted?
No, we
I
already
mean,
did
I
that.
think if you do that, we're gonna, I don't know that you're gonna get much more out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think at this point,
So just leave it the way it is?
if the inclination is to continue with sheriff's patrol, you know, we're just gonna have to utilize fund balances or excesses from other lines at this point.
You can also reduce the number of hours, so.
That's where I was going.
Per week?
Well,
Reduce
not
hours
the
or
hours,
reduce?
it has to be the days. So
For the
instead of
days.
3
The days,
days.
Oh, that's
it's a
right,
minimum
that's
of
right.
4 hours, so you can't reduce the hours.
Yeah, if you want
Can
to.
we reduce the days by a
By
day?
one?
You can have
Did
some.
you get another week out of it or 2 weeks out of it?
do every
Can
other
we,
week.
can we change whatever's left from here forward? Or what if it's already scheduled?
Well, the schedules through June 17th are already set, so they're in their system. People have probably already signed up for them. I can't really change those.
Yeah.
But that's why I only booked it through that time, so that I could book more based on.
So whatever we got left, then we do 2 days a week. Then we run and then we do the, the schedule.
I have to say, I'm so sorry to admit, but I think that you may be able to, sometimes the officers will allow, or they'll allow to, if you've already booked it, you could still maybe cancel.
I could try it.
Yeah.
If that's the.
Yeah, sorry to
Even
bring that
if
up,
something
but
that hasn't been picked up, can we
Yeah.
retract what hasn't been picked up?
I'll reach out.
it kind of depends just who's on the other line.
Correct.
Right, right.
So that's trying to maximize the amount of time that we can utilize
Yeah.
based on our current budget.
So if I'm hearing correctly, the direction of the board would be to, from this point forward, to the extent I can, reduce it to 2 days per week.
To get up to the $7,500.
Okay.
And Jared to put the gate in next week.
We're working on both of those. Okay, so I think we're good on that. We can go to the district manager's report. I know we kind of already talked about the record transition process. There really hasn't been any updates since that meeting, or since the update from yesterday. While we're in the meeting, we did go ahead and email the prior management company just to see if they can cut us a check or they have access to the account so we can get a check back ASAP for the gate.
Based on your experience, 1 through 10, how far are we in the transition?
I think given the time frame that we transition, we're probably where we normally are. Again, we normally do this over about a 60-day period. Actually, we're probably further than we normally are, given that we, are 6 days on duty. Again, we expect some boxes to be received later this week, and then once we get the bank accounts, I think we're at about 90% once we get the bank accounts. And obviously, there'll be some things as we go through that we'll go, oh, we're missing this resolution, we're missing that thing. That happens at all of ours.
And Kristen, do we have any recourse with regards to holding payment to Infomark until they at least transfer the finance to us?
The payment was due
Or-
June 1st.
Hmm?
The payment was due June 1st.
So it's already paid.
It's already been
They
paid.
already took it, and that's why they don't.
But we have other recourse if needed.
Okay.
I don't think that it will get to that point.
I'm hopeful of the same, yeah.
So.
So on a scale from 1 to 10?
Hopefully.
In other words, are you 80% whole or are you 60% whole in the transition?
We're probably about 60% at this point. So again, I think given the accelerated time frame, I think some of this was kind of to be expected.
That's fair.
I mean, again, I think we're still able to hit the ground running and kind of handle a lot of things, even without a lot of records.
And the only thing that bothers me is the finance. They're technically not our management company anymore, and they still can control that, and it's just not a good thing.
So basically, if you receive everything by, today's Wednesday, by the end of next week, you think you can be running full speed with the finance by July 1st?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger part of that is obviously, as we indicated as part of our proposal, that some of the monthly financials that you receive may not be as up to date until we get to the later part of the year, because we do have to take their financial records and then manually put them into our system, line by line, just so that we have full records, because when we do the audit, we need to have one consistent trail. So, it'll be probably the later of the year we will start getting, updated the monthly financial reports. But as far as your check registers and everything else, that'll be normal.
That doesn't gonna beat you for the July meeting to have a better picture of what exactly how our official budget should look like, even if you don't have that information 100% on your system.
I think the fact that we got the electronic records with the contracts, that's the bigger piece of putting the budget together. So that's the bigger piece of knowing, okay, this line attaches to this contract and it's this much. So I think now that we have the electronic records, we'll be able to put together a much better budget for July. We've also presented you the sheriff reports that we received. So going forward, as we receive these, they'll just go in the next agenda, just so you can see what those off-duty sheriff's officers are doing. Again, I think it's pretty standard. You'll see certain officers are really aggressive about writing tickets, some are not. It The next item I prepared to do is, Jared and I can kind of go through this, and I think we've touched on some of these already. So we prepared to do an action items list, so what I've tried to do is categorize kind of all the hot button items I've received since we started out here. And we'll keep tracking this with the goal of getting it smaller and smaller as we go through and kind of complete some of these. So we've got the gate system that we've touched on already, the road issue, as well as the papers we've touched on already. The rec center AC repair, obviously it seems to be holding now, but our staff is looking at getting some additional quotes for you, that hopefully will come in under that 8,000, so that when it does fail, you guys have already provided that authority to move forward on that. Camera access, so those are actually in your agenda. I think this is probably a good time for Jared to go through that. So if you go to the little bookmark up top, and there are camera system proposals that follow. It starts on page 47 of the electronic agenda. So I can let Jared kind of go through. There's different options from your.
So there's a few different options. This first proposal, he basically said that pretty much if we accept any other proposal, they'll do this for free. And this is just repairing some of the damage from removing the cameras and things like that.
Gotcha, the outdoors.
Outdoors, yes. Yep. This second proposal, this is for installation of outdoor camera as well as getting everything set up for it for the outdoor camera. This is $1,000 for that. You have, going to the next one. So, a little background on this. About 2 weeks ago, the access system was down. The board in there is kind of messed up and fried, the slave board. What he has recommended, just as a side note to this, is he's saying that he suspects there's electrical issues in the facility. So we are going to look at getting a master electrician out here just to do an inspection, make sure there's no issues, and if there is something that we can get it addressed, but that'll be on a later time. But for right now, to repair the slave system as it is the NDR system, that's going to be $2,222.
And that's obviously replacing the MBR, right?
The NVR system recording system, correct. And this proposal includes the outdoor camera installation as well. Now they've provided two different options for the cameras for the gates. Basically, it's the difference is a 5 megapixel option or 4K option. It depends on how much quality you're looking for out of your cameras. The difference in price, I believe, is only around $1,500. I would recommend the 4K version, but obviously it's your money, so it's your decision on how you would like to approach that. But I believe just there's a lot of things that I've seen here and that may have been neglected over time, and I'm not throwing any parties under the bus or anything, but I think setting a standard and doing things right the first time and then maintaining after that should be the way that we should be proceeding going forward. That's my recommendation. So I would suggest taking that second option for the 4K option. And I will open that up for questions.
Jason, do we have money for these projects?
I mean, there's repair money left in the R&M for the gatehouse. Obviously, the full budget was $9,000. You've spent at least through March, $3,600. So while it wouldn't accommodate all of, if you were to do the full system, it would accommodate most of that cost. And as far as the clubhouse, I mean, I think there's, that's part of that miscellaneous contingencies or some other account line we could use. I think the ones here are minor. And I think that also gives us remote access to everything too.
Yes, remote access to everything. Correct.
So do you already have access to the whole camera?
I don't have any access to the camera. We have access to these cameras right here. The gate cameras, no, that was all in there. Infomark said they didn't even have access to those cameras. That's why I'm recommending we go with Service App. I've already built a pretty decent relationship with them, even in this early week. They're a small company. They want to work with the district. They said they've been here for years.
But they can't assess what's wrong with the system we have now? Because I mean, we went from it working to not working at all.
Yeah.
Or working to many, or what's the case with it right now?
They are doing what they can right now. But I don't have a concrete answer on that, just because.
That's critical, you know, that's critical.
I met with
Rivera
him.
has their own system and their own setup, so you're asking another company to go in, they have to go through and analyze every single, there might be a different programming code that they use, things like that, and that takes time. I don't have that answer right now. This,
And you still have to replace the cameras to switch systems?
I would recommend this option.
Yeah, so those at the gate, I met with service staff because that system is kind of like its own brain. It's not like this one. This one is kind of like a home type system. That one is more a server. So that one they have to go in and input all the cameras. He gotta give us a proposal as well to put those to work at the gate, just to make them again. But that's something that is you need to monthly. A person come monthly and do a maintenance on that system. You know?
Is there any way that the camera system can be integrated into one, clubhouse and gatehouse, so that we don't have so many moving parts?
Well, I think that's kind of what this is. So this puts it all under
Everything will be right here together as one.
The same one that we have here
Yeah.
is the same one he got installed at the gate. So then on one app you can watch both areas.
Yes. Yeah, this would unify the remote access for both locations, which you currently don't have.
Correct. Over there is a AD Pro and this one is a UMB.
So, going back to the last meeting, no board member has access to those cameras anymore.
That's right.
Right.
District manager.
So I think the 4K is, obviously he's explaining to me about the way that we would have watched the license plates and, you know.
I'm not a technical guy, but, you know, my key right now is that the CDD board historically has replaced multiple cameras, spending thousands of dollars every year on this, and now we're gonna take all this investment and throw it out because it's no good. It makes no sense to me.
Well, I think the one in here is not full throwout for the clubhouse, correct?
No,
It's really just replacing the DVR
Correct.
and the heart of the system. That at the guardhouse, that's where it needs a full brand new kind of system to function together. And I will say again, you know, I understand your concern. I will say every property we have with cameras, this is it's.
My understanding is also that LPR camera is very expensive, and we're gonna get rid of it. This makes sense.
How do I phrase this? I don't know how things operated beforehand. So I would say going forward, you almost have to take it as what it is. They're going to do what they can, and if they can help us, awesome. But if not, I think you just have to set up a control system that you can manage going forward. That system in there is.
I don't have a problem with the control system being changed. That makes sense to me. But what doesn't make sense to me is that we have almost new cameras, and we're going to just throw them out, and they're not useful anymore. It doesn't make sense. You understand? I don't know why, but it just doesn't.
That's up to you, but like I said, you have a.
Have we had any other surveillance company kind of weigh in on this?
I've been here for a week.
I understand.
No, we started with the current vendor because they were here. They've been very responsive so far. Again, their prices are not out of line with what we see from other of this type of nature.
They're also offering discounts.
And then they are offering discounts, as indicated. So again, if we felt like these prices were out of line or not industry standard, we would certainly.
Now, after all this is updated, let's say we go with something like this, what is going to be the maintenance cost of the system?
I got these.
All right, so I think we're not there yet to even consider any of these bids. I think we need information like that. I'd like to see other experts in the field. This to me is like jargon that I don't understand. And I'd like to have maybe somebody, one of them, come and give a quick 10-15 minute spiel that can technically explain in layman's terms why the equipment has to be completely changed or not. And you know, because I want to make sure, and I'm with you, Derek, I want a system that's going to stand the test of time. If we're going to invest another 20 grand, 30 grand or something like this, then we need to have something that's good for at least 10 years, 15 years down the line. I mean, when the developer was on this board, I'm sure the system never changed, and he was here for almost 20 years.
Yep.
You understand? And then, since he's been gone, it's like we're spending money on cameras every year. And I just think that needs to come to a stop.
But what you need to find out is that system, I know for sure, he or another company can reprogram it, because that's what it takes. That's a computer. They need to go there and reprogram everything, and everything can come back to work. But I know for sure we're gonna need someone to, like Mario was saying, to do a maintenance monthly on that, because that one needs to check the ports, check the firewall.
I think
check
all our
here, check
systems
there.
should be on some sort of preventive maintenance, because, you know, I mean, I hate to say this, but mice are running around sometimes, don't buy the wire, and things will happen, and the only way that we're gonna know is if an expert comes every 3-4 months, kind of checks in and checks everything and says it's good to go, or you know, like right now with the disc not working, that issues come up at least a couple meetings here. You know, no one had any knowledge of that from the previous management, you know, until it was brought to the meeting for the first time. And that's something that could have been identified early and maybe repaired, or at least gave us time to save the money to repair it. Instead, we had to scramble to try to, you know, get some quick fix that may not be ideal.
Agreed completely. So I met with him last week, and I asked him to come up with a suggestion for this. And he said, yes, he can go through and reprogramming, but it's not ready yet, and he's not there. If he sent this, and because he sent it, I just wanted to get it in here so I can at least show you guys the numbers of what we're looking at. I'm perfectly okay if we want to table this to another meeting for the gate cameras at least, but I do recommend at least getting these like tennis court cameras and the other ones at the clubhouse that are not working, approving those ones is what I was saying.
And how much are those? I'm data overloaded at this point. I'm trying to sort this out.
That is the 900 and the contract.
That'll get all the.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's only one camera, or that's the three that they're down?
It's this one, so 922, and I believe the 2001. What those two are what I would definitely approve, because that, like I said, your slate system is not working right now, and if your master goes out, you have no card access anywhere. It needs to be repaired, unfortunately, and like I said, if there's still facilities having electrical issues, that's what's causing a lot of these master and slave controllers to go out.
So I'm glad you said that, because that was the other thing that's in the back of my mind that we need to find out is like, you know, how do we know? Well, you say you're gonna get a master electrician, what is he gonna do? Like, how is he gonna figure this out?
I would bring in a master electrician, and they would test all of the lines. They have little devices that let the master electrician.
Okay, I got you.
I can give you a basic idea. So
That's gonna cost a lot of
let's
money.
say I can plug something into that wall outlet, it's gonna give an output signal. If it's saying like maybe it's 10 amps when it's designed for 5 amps, you're gonna know there's an issue here. Those types of inspections will happen. I would definitely recommend we look into that.
Wow.
And I noticed when he mentioned that, I told him, because I saw the cameras in there, that already 2 of them went out here at the pool. So something is wrong, you know, because now instead of 1 that we have at the tennis court, now we have 2 more out. So, and that's another one, like you mentioned, we need the maintenance.
Right here on the side door, and then by the office entrance here, those are out. So that's what this would cover.
So the 977, that's what it covers?
The 977 plus the 2,222.30.
Oh, but that's to
that is including the decoder. If you don't want to fix the decoder, just let it be what it is. We can just go with the 922.
So when you say fix the decoders, what exactly are they gonna do?
the NVR thing.
The whole NVR system needs to be fixed. Like the decoder brick is gone, so that portion of the controller is that you have no access with it. And if the master goes as well, like I said, you have nothing.
So that NVR is gonna be, so my concern is we're gonna put a new NVR thinking that there might be an electrical problem here, and it's gonna blow that thing too.
That is why I was suggesting the master electrician first,
Right.
and then we get it.
Right.
Right now the master is working, we can give out new cards, have access to everywhere, that's fine.
Now the next question is that new NVR that we're spending money on gonna be useful with the new system that we're planning to go on?
Yes.
Okay, that's important.
Yeah, okay, correct, yeah, because it's gonna be the same.
I don't wanna hear in 3 months, you know, that we're gonna go on a new system without that NVR garbage.
Yes, so.
Okay.
They have to be the same brand, the UMB brand. So it works with the gate if we decide to change the gate.
And this is the brand that works with most systems, like, there's no like brand that kind of like is more like universal,
Yeah.
that's more compatible with multiple systems?
With this decoder, the slave decoder here, this is an old system. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The whole security system here is old. There's no remote access, there's anything like that going on.
No, you're talking about that system?
No, I'm
Just
talking
talking
about.
access.
Oh, the access, yeah.
All of that.
Oh, yeah, that's old.
That powers the whole database.
Oh, yeah.
If those go, then everything's gone. That's why I'm recommending eventually looking to switch to remote access. You don't have to do it right now or whenever, but I would definitely plan for that in the future as soon as humanly possible.
So, we had a meeting when we initially brought out the gate issue, where we were gonna use the same system for the gate to change all the access to the same LiftMaster system, so that it's all remotely accessible and all that stuff. I wanna say, I don't remember the exact number, but it was under $25,000 to change the entire system. Now, you know, we're seeing these numbers, and you're saying these are kind of really good numbers, right?
But hold on. But here, I know you mentioned the key access, but this $2,200 is talking about only camera system, MBR system only.
No, the MBR is the 900.
Yes, MBR is just the camera.
No, but
This
the
is not
900, the 977.
is the
How about this?
This is
Let's
the
make this
camera.
very simple.
camera that
Why
is
why don't we table this?
Yeah.
All of this for right now. I will have service that come here and break down every single item other than.
Well, either way, this is less than the chairman is authorized to do on the fly if there's an emergency. So if the system goes down, I mean, he can authorize to have it done.
I'm perfectly happy with that.
Right, so, I mean, it's not impingent that we need to do that, but my concern is, I would like, I guess the only, I don't know, you can ask the guys here, but my concern is that what I'm hearing from you is that the system's old and it needs to be updated. So what I wanna make sure is that we're not gonna put money into the system that we could be putting into a new system and just bring everything up to speed rather than keep patching these holes. That is what's been happening for the last 5 years.
That's what I'm recommending. Let's just have him come out and break down everything. So cameras at the gate, cameras here, this system. He is, like I said, offering completely updated systems. I want him to explain that just because of the short amount of time that I've had. I'm just going off the information that I've gotten this week. I think that's the best course of action going forward, if that's okay with you guys.
No. Okay, so it's good.
Next item, this is something that I definitely do recommend fixing as soon as possible. I'm not sure why it wasn't done yet, but the spa is broken, the heating doesn't work, and the OPA controller.
So it's starting on 44 on the electronic agenda. But again, under your bookmark, if you hit the bookmark, it'll come right up.
Spa repair proposals.
You don't have to teach me how to do that, man.
I got you. I'll show you. I got you.
Got it. I'm here now, right?
Yeah.
This is the right place?
Yeah. So the vendor came by and balanced the spa, but they did let us know the OPA controller is down. That means they have to manually balance the chemicals because it's such a small body of water. There's no control system set up that at any time they could come by and balance today, and tomorrow it's out of balance and we don't know about it yet. It's a
So
safety-
what does OPA stand for? No.
I'm not a pool technician, I'm not sure, but basically.
Here says ORP though.
I'm saying, it's been a long day. ORP, you were correct, I'm so sorry. So basically they would come by, replace that system and the heating element to make sure it's completely functional, and that way you know that when they do balance it, it's safe, at least until their next visit when they can come and reassure that it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the levels of how the pool
Yeah.
has to be.
So I get it, it's kind of like an automated thing that takes care of itself, they just gotta check it periodically.
Yes.
Again, my concern is the spa's 20-something years old, it's not hot, we don't know if we can put gas in it. I mean, there's a lot of issues with that spa, that I think it probably should just remain closed until we can figure out what needs to be done with the spa, because if we can't get it hot, if the equipment, and you know, we're gonna have to invest in a whole new system for it. Again, I don't wanna spend $1,500 that could be used to make it right.
Well, You can jump in there if you want. I think they're gonna have to send one of these proposals at any point to reopen. And, you know, as they indicate in the proposal, they need to do this, then they can fill the tank up and actually start investigating the heat issue. So they
But I
can't.
thought we agreed at the last meeting to have a gas company come out and evaluate the integrity of the gas system. And see if we could fill it up with gas to begin with.
Yeah, that was 2 months ago.
That was 2 months ago. I know, you wanna hear it. You wanna hear it. Two meetings ago,
2 months ago.
2 meetings ago, there was a resident here who had some experience with this gas business. And, cause I was pulling for us to fill it up and see if it works. Because the previous manager, the field manager, didn't know, they said it's never worked since they've been here. So, you know, I proposed that, and the resident, you know, corrected me rightfully because I don't have experience. And he said, no, he says, I wouldn't put gas in there, because what if there's a leak? It's been sitting there empty for so many years. He was like, you have to evaluate the integrity of the system before you decide to put any gas in it, right? So I'd like to see that happen, because that to me is probably gonna be something that's worth spending. If we put $1,500 into this spot, and then 2 months later we find out that the gas system's bad and we need an electric spot,
I mean,
now the whole game changes.
I will note just again, you know, we got this because, you know, a resident called us and indicated that they were using the spot and thought they had an issue. So I think there are people that use it, even though it's not heating up. So I think we either have to do this or keep it closed, and we can keep it closed and investigate the gas at the same time. But we can't reopen it without.
No, and that's what I'm proposing, is to keep it closed until we can figure out what we're gonna do with it. Now, you know, when you tell me this thing about the resident bringing this up, it bothers me, because I think Technipool should have been the one to catch this, you know, if they're actually checking. So it tells me they're probably not.
Well, but I think as Jerry indicated, in fairness to them, is that with the way the system is now, they balanced it the day before.
Right.
So it's a small body of water. When it goes out of balance, it happens really quick.
And I think that got damaged out of the blue, because we never have any complaint
That's
until
my
now.
suggestion to the board, is that we consider just keeping it closed until we figure out the viability of that current system.
So we got two proposals, one to replace it completely, right?
So
And
one
then-
would be for a new RRP system, the other one would be to repair the
To
existing.
repair. Okay, so it's double.
But it's just the same system, you're not changing anything else.
Yeah, just a brand new one versus.
And the difference is.
They would also replace the rocker switches
Yeah.
and the heater equipment pad. So what am I, it's just a decision of, do you want to take a risk of, hey, we replace this older, we repair this old one a month from now, and there's something else.
How much warranty on the repair?
It's normally manufacturer warranty for these types of things. For an ORP system, I would assume a year, but I don't know exactly. I can get you an answer to follow up.
And then also about the gas, what he mentioned, we got, you know, the fireplace
Fireplace is
there,
gas,
it's
too.
gas, so I think when we gotta put gas, we need to make sure everything is.
Well, we'd like to get a gas guy to kind of check the integrity of both gas appliances and make sure that they're legit before we put any gas in it. And also, I don't know if the gas people are the same ones who check the functionality of the fireplace itself, but we need a fireplace guy for that.
Fireplace is on the list for me to look at. I've just gone for immediate.
I understand. You may open it in a couple weeks. I'm just trying to get an idea of what the next step is gonna be with that.
I think looking at our issues here, getting an electrician here, getting somebody to look at the gas lines, making sure those types of things are done first. Then moving into this. If you're good with us keeping it closed, that's perfectly fine with me. As much time as I can have to give you an accurate answer with all the details, that's what I would prefer.
We're meeting every month right now, right? So far for the next couple of months, we're meeting.
Yeah, we're gonna meet in July, and I think there's one in
So,
September.
I mean, month to month, you can give us an update on the situation. I mean, it's a priority, I think. I don't want to keep the spot closed forever. You know, and like I said, 2 months ago, it was supposed to be checked, and it hasn't been checked. So, you know, I think the electrician and the gas guy should be the first thing. Do we need any motions for these, or is this just kind of like?
I think you give it, if the rest of the board, if there's no opposition, then I think.
Maybe you guys can weigh in on that?
You know, honestly, I think it's gonna be money pit. I think we're gonna find a lot of problems with it. We're gonna find out that that tank sitting there for 20 years is gonna have a problem.
Correct, but then we can decide at that point
Yeah,
if we need to save money next year to try to replace it.
We keep it closed, turn it off, and
investigate.
Investigate further and get all the answers before we spend another dime on this thing.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah. And then also, we already approved, I don't know, you weren't here, the pump, a new pump. I don't know if he got it yet, or what is the status of
He
that?
said with that new pump, they do not make it anymore. So he's looking for alternatives right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Jared.
So running back through the action items, obviously on there, we've got the review of the Spectrum built clubhouse, so Jared's already kind of started going through that. Gym equipment,
Do we have like a running list of all the field management issues that were filed?
that's what I got on this action items.
But do we have it as a board? Is it?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
no worries, it's on page 42 of the agenda.
Gotcha, all right.
And I'm trying to
I'm
capture,
not used to this thing, man.
I'm trying to capture kind of everything on this list.
All right. Now I can follow.
Gym equipment, I will let Jared kind of tackle that under his field manager report, because he's got some updates on that.
Okay.
As we talked about, there was a visibility issue at the entrance, which Jared will meet with the landscaper on that. There was some waste management damage to the roads. We're still working with the county and the vendor and trying to get that resolved.
Have you seen that happen before?
Yeah.
And what is the usual remedy for that?
They have to come out and clean it to at least some level of satisfaction. Now, it may never 100% come out, but there needs to be some.
But they haven't been out at all to try to do that, right?
They've indicated to me that they've come out twice, and the pictures I've seen and being on site doesn't look like they've done anything. So I'm going to continue to beat that drum. And then there was a concern over the spike installation at the front gate. We did reach out. I did reach out to a contact I had in Osceola County and actually just heard back from them. There is no permitting required for that type of work because it's not a county right of way. So that would be the only place where it would be required. And I know council's already reached out to Infomark too to ensure that they installed it properly. And we've looked at the contract.
So the biggest deal we have with these spikes is the noise. You know, the neighbors that live there in front of those spikes, they're really ticked off. And they've been complaining about it from day one. And no one's done anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is with those spikes is, I mean, I think they're the mechanism is, and the idea is functional. It's a great idea, but we never took, I guess the board never took into consideration that people sleep there. And that 24/7 people are coming in and out. So I don't know, I've done some research online myself, and there's some places say that there's nothing you can do about it. Other places say that you can adjust it, you can oil it, grease it up, put some type of rubber padding on it, and try to quiet it down as much as possible, but it doesn't always work.
I can look into options and see potential options and bring those up later day. I can probably do that for next week.
I mean, we spent 20 grand on that, you know, and it wasn't that long ago.
And then also
I'm noticing the bolts are breaking off on there.
What about the new gate? Will they eliminate those so you can take them out?
Well, the thing is, it's another expense to take them out, because then you got a hole there you gotta fill, and then engineering is gonna want compaction testing and all this stuff again. So, you know, to me.
It's useless to have a gate and those there.
Say that again?
It's useless to have a gate and the spikes.
Well, the spikes are there to prevent, because even when the gates were opening and closing, you know, there's a delay. When the gate opens, about a minute delay before it starts to close. So people would try to come in through there as the gate stayed open. So that's, you know, the spikes are still, you know, a valid, purpose, even with the gates installed. And it might even save us, because we might not even need those bars there on that side anymore, you know? So that might save us some money there. But they gotta get quiet, you understand? And one thing I'm noticing too, Jared, one thing I'm noticing is that those spikes are staying locked down. And it seems like they're rubbing on the sides, and when certain cars pass and kind of move the steering wheel as they're passing, like they get locked. And then they don't serve a purpose. And I think it was this morning I saw, and there was like 3 sections that were down on them. So I don't know if they need adjustment. Online I've seen that there's like a screw or something that moves those spikes sideways, and you know, supposedly there's supposed to be some type of maintenance for greasing them up or something. So I mean, I'd like to at least, you know, this neighbor has complained a lot, and I think they about had it, and I just see this as a potential liability for the future, and we need to really take care of it.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe we can look at speed bumps before and after, just to prevent something like Mario was saying, because that's a lot of noise. People just drive there like 50, and that's what it make that noise. They don't stop.
I'll definitely look into that, because obviously I don't want anything like that affecting residents, so I'll see whatever options are available to us, and I'll confer with Clay that doesn't have a better knowledge of this type of thing, and we'll bring something to the board next week.
All right.
Or next meeting.
The next item we have is we're required annually to announce the number of registered voters within the district. It doesn't really impact this district at this point because you've already started the turnover to general election, but there are 848 registered voters as of April. The next item we have is just a reminder, you should be receiving Form 1s from the supervisor elections. Those are required to be turned in by July 1st. Obviously, they keep in touch with us, so if we get your name on the notice, we'll reach out to you individually, but we try to like to remind folks.
You can check me off the list.
All right, gotcha.
Me too.
Two other items that have come up quick. So we were notified by the HOA today that they would like to hold an event here on July 22nd. A Belisol Day, I think is what it was. So I think we would just like to have the board make sure that there's no opposition to allowing them to utilize the room and the facility for that day.
So obviously, this community has never had events in the past, and I know that when the HOA has tried to have events before, the previous CDD board has always objected to it for various reasons. They said that the HOA was required to provide police and barricades, and they made it kind of like very complex. So I want to know from legal and from management, what's customarily done for these type of events. Our community is fairly large. I understand it's 589 properties, and we have to account, even though the turnout may be poor because they're initial events, we have to account that at least maybe each house can bring 2 people, and figure that we could get a turnout of 1,000 people at some point. So what is the proper way to set up this so that we can tell the HOA that it's okay to do it without us incurring liability?
Right, no, that's a great point. So usually the CDDs will have a special events policy for something like this. Since it sounds like there's not something currently in place, what I'd recommend is that we have a form waiver, and it's basically drafted so that in this case, the HOA would indemnify the CDD for any damage caused by anyone that's attending the event or as a result of the event, and then would hold the CDD harmless from any liability, which means that if someone slips and falls during the event or something like that, and we're brought into the suit, the HOA will hold us harmless as well. So basically, the HOA will assume any liability as a result of having the event at the clubhouse. You could also put a cap on the number of people also that are allowed to attend the event. So that's something we could do. We have a form. You'll see it. It's attached to the special events policy that I'm going to send you after the board meeting, and we could send that to the HOA and ask that they sign something like that.
Yeah, that sounds great. I just don't know, as a board member here, I just don't know what the parameters should be. I don't know what's safe or what's not safe. I don't know how you gauge that.
Yeah, ideally you have a special events policy that lays out all of
But you'll be able to provide us those parameters,
Well, I think that's part of what we can look at when you do the amenity rules. You can lay out those kind of special event policies in those rules.
But like now, we don't have.
I'm trying to think for this particular event.
Right.
Yeah, I would advise that we send a waiver over to the HOA and say it would have to be by motion. So
Do we need to require the HOA to submit maybe a certificate of insurance with CDD as being insured on it? Additional insured?
Yes.
Just for protections?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's included in the form.
Okay.
So maybe I'd recommend is that we could delegate authority to one of the board members to take on that project and work with me to come to agree on a form that we can send the HOA for that type of event.
Okay. And we need a motion for that, right?
We need the motion for the form, right, first? For
I
the
think
waiver?
you'd make a motion to direct staff to work with a particular board member, whoever that might be. So you need to name that person in the motion. It sounds like might be your task.
Are you selecting me?
It sounds like you.
I'm okay with it, man. I'm okay with working with that.
Okay.
That's fine.
So then, if I can kind of phrase the motion, I think the motion would be to, designate Mr. Cordova, as the point of contact, to work with council to draft up a kind of a one-time event waiver, for this event on July 22nd for the HOA here at the Amenity Center.
I second the motion. Well,
Yeah.
I mentioned, well, I'm just saying what I said. Yeah, that's long. I make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Am I allowed to vote?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
All opposed? Okay, motion passes 3-1. Item I have, this seems kind of weird, but we want to make sure that we're advertising anything properly. So we've seen two different times for your next meeting.
I had not.
So it looks like the meeting notice that was published had a 1 p.m. time. Your meeting schedule had a 1 p.m. time, but we've also seen a 5 p.m. time in other places. So we want to make sure that for your July 1st, for your July 11th meeting, which is your budget hearing, we know which one the board prefers so that we can make sure that it's consistent.
You said that 1 o'clock was advertised, right?
That's advertised as part of the meeting schedule.
Okay.
And it looks like you intended to have the 1 p.m. meeting on July 11th, based on the meeting schedule that was approved by the board last year, but also I think the budget resolution had a 5 p.m. time on it. So we want to make sure that the proper time is set by you guys. So we want to make sure we have that discussion about.
So which option will require no further action in terms of advertising and spending more money? Or either option is the same?
I mean, I think the 1 p.m., since that's what was advertised, is probably the least changing option, and then we can just change, if we have to change the budget resolution, we can amend the initial budget resolution, correct?
That's fine. Yeah, we can do that. Was there a discussion though on having the hearing later? Right, to allow,
Because of the budget,
Yeah.
correct. I think we had that a couple meetings ago.
There was a discussion in regards to meetings at 1 o'clock. We
Correct.
were told by Gabriel at the time that we had one more meeting on the agenda that was at 1 o'clock.
And
We
we
had
had-
discussion around costs associated with reposting it. We as a board had decided that we were just going to leave it at 1 because it was cheaper for us, but we were told everything continuing through the rest of our fiscal year was 5. So I thought we were done with the 1 o'clocks altogether, but it sounds like there's.
Correct.
So let me ask you a question. How much would we incur in expense to re-advertise this particular meeting? And do we have enough time to do it before the meeting?
Oh, we have enough time. It's a 7-day notice, so we would get that immediately. It's probably $200.
Couple hundred?
I'm guessing again. I don't know exactly the.
Why is it so expensive?
Because you have one source, you have one. There's only one place to place the ad.
User line is that now? Yeah. Right.
Is it Sentinel? We've been using
No.
Gazette. though.
Gazette.
We might use
Oh,
the Gazette.
Gazette. Oh, absolutely,
Again,
Gazette, okay.
Again, I don't know the exact cost for each.
Osceola Gazette is what we've been using.
Okay.
I thought it was a lot cheaper than that.
It might be.
$70 or something like that. I don't remember it.
And now that we mentioned the Gazette, I saw the band that comes around and drop that paper. But I saw that they drop it on
Certain houses, not all.
yes, only a few streets, not the whole community. That's something that the CDD pays, or that's something that,
No,
how does that work?
It's for legal compliance purposes. So you have to advertise it's a newspaper of regional circulation.
No. He's talking about the delivery of the
Oh,
paper.
we don't do that at all. That's the
Because they're delivering the paper to homes, but only certain homes, not all the homes. So I'm
Is
trying
it
to
a
find out.
subscription?
Yeah, they.
Well, it's a free paper, so.
I requested for mine to be delivered. I called,
Oh.
and I got it too on the phone.
Oh, so maybe the previous owners have requested it?
Yeah, because it's only a few streets that get them, and then the other ones doesn't. Okay.
Is there any way to request that Osceola Gazette maybe put some of those papers here in the clubhouse? for residents to grab and go. I mean, they're free.
I guess, you know.
Because the thing is, they dropping it on the
They get wet.
floors and get wet, just throwing it there instead of having it there.
You can have it because I know like on the cafeteria that I go with my wife, they got like a newsstand or something that.
Yeah, that's better. People can come inside the community, grab
But
it.
then they can suspend that deliveries. To be honest with you, 90% of those newspapers are going into garbage, and sometimes some of these are vacation homes, and they accumulate there for weeks and weeks and weeks. So if they can stop delivering to homes and just put them in the clubhouse, I think it would be a good.
The weekly wet paper.
Yeah. So anyway, so we keeping it at 1 p.m., right? Or at 5?
I don't know.
I think
It's
that's
up, it's up to the majority, obviously, but my suggestion is that because it is a budget meeting, I mean, if it was a regular meeting, I totally agree, leave it at 1. And like Corey pointed out, we were told it was a 5 o'clock meeting at an official
Correct.
meeting. So it kind of muddies the waters, and I think we're exposing ourselves either way, no matter whether you go 1 or 5, because some people are gonna say, I saw it here for that, I saw it there for that. So I think the right thing to do is that, in my opinion, if the cost is less than $100, I would say, we should just re-advertise it for the time that we all agreed to do
I
it.
mean, if the motion is to change it, or at least make sure that if it needs to be advertised, then we can't limit it to 500, because that's a legal requirement. Again, I don't know.
You can't limit it to what?
To 100. I don't know what the cost is, but for us to hold it at 5, it may require an advertisement. We have to, again, check back through the records to see what was.
And he's saying it may be more than 100.
Correct.
What day of the week is that anyway?
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a regular Tuesday, it's a Tuesday.
The cost is $100.
Okay.
It's exactly $100? 200. Oh, 200.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right, we'll leave it at 1 o'clock. Does everybody agree? But I honestly believe that it should be advertised either way because of the money.
No, the thing is we need to advertise it anyway because the notice that was sent was at 5 p.m.
Well, that was
The resolution.
That was the resolution. So
Well,
that, I mean, we can amend that, and we've done that in other districts. I mean, you can amend that even at the hearing. Again, it's really the board's preference, whether you prefer 1 o'clock or 5 p.m. I mean, we're fine either way.
I'm torn. I think for our residents, 5 o'clock is more reasonable to
If
expect.
you're gonna re-advertise, does it have to be 1 or 5?
What we have to do is verify.
Oh,
what
because
time
the
was
notice of
originally-
the budget went out at 5.
Well, no notice of the budget went out.
Okay.
What I have to verify is when the original meeting schedule was published, what was published. The indication that I have is that 1 o'clock was published. So we have to verify that. If 1 o'clock was published, then that's the time that we've already advertised. If you prefer a 5 o'clock, we just have to advertise that one meeting is a 5.
All right, why don't we do that then? Just verify what we advertised.
Yeah.
And then just stick with that.
Yep.
And then it'll end everything. And then you can just send an email to all of us telling us exactly what the official time is.
And also you can utilize the HOA if you wanted to relay the information of the meeting.
Sure. Okay, that's fair. Again, I just want to make sure we had that discussion because we weren't, it seemed to be a little unclear on our end.
Yeah.
And with that, before we go to Jared's, I just want to let you know, I do have some dates out of the office over the next month or so. But as always, what I do for most of my districts is at least a week in advance, you'll get an email from me saying, hey, I'm going to be out of the office these days. Obviously, field issues can go to Jared. And it's 2023, so I'm always in contact with my phone, even when I'm out of the office. If something comes up, feel free to reach out to me. I'm still checking emails as I can. But again, you'll get that at least a week in advance, so that if you have something that comes up or a question, you have sufficient time to reach out to me.
Sounds good.
With that, we can go to Jared's report.
I'm Jared Rick. Nice to finally meet you all and get to do this.
And that's it starts at 74 on the iPad.
So going forward, I'm going to be your on-site field manager. Clayton is the director of field services. He's based out of Tampa. He's going to be my direct supervisor. Most of the day-to-day activities will be done by me and run everything by him for approval. So it really is a team effort, but if you have any issues whatsoever, I put my cards out. If you need more, let me know. Just contact me right away. I would recommend email unless it's an absolute emergency, because if it's an email, I can see the pictures or anything like that. Just makes things easier for tracking purposes. But here we go. But, so with this report, I annotated some highlight items. I would say this is definitely not a full breakdown of everything this place needs. That would have been 30 to 50 pages, if I'm being dead honest with some of the basic stuff. But things that I think that we can start to work on and look forward to working on would be landscape enhancements. You have all the palms around here have a different boot size for some reason. It looks really weird. They fall off at random times. All of your landscaping beds have these palm trimmings just laying in there. I would like to set that at a standard of 2 to 3 feet from the top. That way all the trees look the same. It makes it look better, and you don't have all this mess that has to be cleaned up all the time. So that would be one of the things. Obviously, budget constraints are a big concern. There's some things that I think that we can do for fairly cheap, or ornamental grasses, things like that. These have not been maintained properly over the years. That's why they've all flayed out. There's no pink growth or anything coming off of them. I would like to remove the dead ones, cut back what is there, and see what can be salvaged, and then we can consider maybe adding something else in the future, maybe upgrading the visuals of the place. Anything like that, I would bring forward proposals, those types of things, so you have an idea of what we're looking at, if that's something that you want to do. Primary focus for me right now is anything that's a safety issue, anything that's an ADA compliance issue, those types of things are what we're really looking to focus on. So for instance, the playground, the mulch in the playground here. I know there's talks about maybe wanting to move it or do anything of that nature. As of right now, there's not enough mulch to be in compliance. We need to add at least a few inches to it, so I will be getting you proposals for that. I should have that for the next meeting.
Does that mulch have to be special mulch, or?
It has to be playground certified mulch. It's just a different way that they cut the mulch. So,
And the one that we have now it is, or?
What we have there is playground mulch. There's just not enough. You have to have a certain amount of inches to go through to be in compliance. So, okay, go ahead, please.
What about, have you looked into like kind of like painting the playground stuff, because there's a lot of like erosion or rust, corrosions right now.
I will be getting into all of that after the report. I have recommendations for how we.
So basically, the most thing is a safety issue, you're saying. And it would have to be compliance.
Safety and compliance issues, or just some general items that are fairly easy to work on that we could just have a facelift of the property. Like I said, after this report, I'll give you my recommendations for what I think we can do to go forward. As for the playground, if you're okay with me, I would like to get this resolved as soon as possible. I think it can be pushed to the next meeting. I think there's enough there that it's not going to be an issue. So I'll start getting blade runners to get a proposal. If there's any concerns whatsoever, we would just shut it down. We're not going to allow a safety issue to just be out. Okay. And as you saw with the spot, the second we see something that I don't feel comfortable with, I will shut it down. And I'm overly cautious with this type of thing. Moving on, so obviously we have a couple of courts around here. All of your basketball courts need to be pressure washed, cleaned. Some of this is a very simple, basic pressure washing. Could make the area just look so much better. Maybe a quick refresh of the painting. For this small court, you're having a lot of water pooling in there, just because of the way that it's just a long, flat surface. What we want to do is just have our guys come out with a concrete saw, make 4 lines in it with a slight slope to it. It's not going to make a trip hazard. It's not going to change any of the concrete. It's not going to damage anything. What it does, it just makes 4 channels so the water in the middle can have somewhere to go. And then that way, once all of that goes out, we'll still have some, but most of that will evaporate. These giant pools, these will stay on there all day, depending on how high it is and things like that.
On that court, I was thinking, for the future, since we have the big basketball over here, to reuse that platform and to put like a gazebo type thing.
Okay.
Because then you have another venue where we can rent it, you know, it can have energy where it can have a lock, and then if the person want to rent it with electricity, then they can pay something, and we can reuse that space, because right now they use pretty much all the basketball.
Now,
No objection.
now Infomart pressure washed this less than 2 months ago, to be honest with you, and they couldn't get it clean. So,
Are you talking the court or the back court?
the small court,
What I'm not saying is the court itself or the back court portion?
no, the court.
The court,
The
okay.
court is what they pressure washed. I don't think they did the back court.
No.
But I saw them like out here doing it. I'm just wondering if that's beyond pressure washing. Do you think you can get it clean? Because if they tried and they didn't do it, I mean, I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and then.
A lot of this is, I have to get in there and physically see, like when I take the pictures, there's too much water there. I know how we would typically go about it, and that's kind of what I'm presenting right now, is this would, I don't know what was pressure washed. Basically anything before last week, I don't know what they did, so I'm saying our typical procedures for how we would handle this situation.
Have you ever seen them maybe kind of like grind a surface off these courts to give like a fresh concrete layer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm thinking that's probably what needs to be done, along with those, since you're gonna get the saw to do those cuts, maybe get them to do the grinding instead, or maybe, I mean, but look at it, you let us know what you think, and I'm just thinking, I don't wanna keep trying to pressure wash it if it's not gonna work.
I think the best solution to this is to come out and do a test wear, where we would literally tape off a 505 square, pressure wash that, see if there is a visible difference in what we can get it to, and if not, then obviously we have to look for a different option. The grinding thing, they literally make, it's almost like a shopping cart. You pull it behind, it takes a 1/4 of an inch millimeter off the surface and gives you a new fresh surface.
Exactly, yeah.
So looking at this, I wonder if that court is similar to all of our tile roofs, right? We have all the plane, the aircraft that are over us, and there's.
So there's trees there though, it's a lot of shade there.
Yeah, and
I
then
don't
the
know
water
if it's-
stays
Oh,
there.
it's the water's there, because after it rains, you see the water pool there, it just stays there for weeks, the line and all kinds of
Yeah, it stays
mold
like
just
that.
grows on it. That's why he's suggesting the cut, so that it kind of
Right,
drains.
but I'm also thinking that if power washing is getting us nowhere, does the chemicals.
Soft washing it?
The soft washing that we were using on one of our roofs,
Mhm.
Oh, I see
does
what
that
you're
get us a step farther
That's
without
a
having?
thought.
It very well might be, yes.
Yeah, that's a thought.
I gotta get into the community, this is something that we as residents have challenged ourselves with by living on the flight path is, you know, it's a typical power wash for our roofs here, it doesn't work, the soft wash is definitely a more effective manner.
Yeah, so our pressure washing setup, just so you know, we have a massive trailer with all of these options capable.
Okay.
Our guys are professionals, they know exactly, okay, this isn't gonna work, we need to go with this method, or vice versa type of thing. So, anything that involves washing, we can do.
Okay.
And if we can't for some reason, I will find somebody to do it.
So you guys do soft washing?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yes, our maintenance team can handle a vast number of jobs. We've tried to build a service that it helps us as field managers so that I don't have to contact vendors for every little item that comes up. We have a team that's trained, they know exactly what they're doing, and they can go out and get it done. And like I said, if it's something that I believe is out of their scope, or they tell me, hey, this is gonna take more, then we will seek additional vendors and those types of things. But I think for right now, we can come out, like I said, do a test patch, see what we can get done. If it's, we'll explore our options from there. But I definitely recommend at least cutting those little drainage lines in there, just to protect that. Sporting courts are pretty easy. Obviously, from the pictures, you have dirt all over them. It's just a natural thing. They need to be cleaned regularly.
What do you guys recommend? How often do you need to clean those?
Normally for these types of things, it's once a year is when we pressure wash. What I'm seeing here, you have a lot of dirt around the sporting courts and it's missing sod in places. I would like to add a landscape border at least to try to keep some of the dirt from washing into it anytime it rains, and then sodding after that, so that at least we have that layer of protection. There's always going to be some sort of dirt and things getting onto these things, it just is what it is. But
Well, the hogs have been helped, you know, the hogs have been tearing that whole area up, and that's how you have all that dirt on there.
I'm sorry?
The wild hogs,
Wild hogs, yes.
they've come out and they've rooted all those areas around the tennis courts, and that's how a lot of dirt has gotten in there. That's why there's no sod. You know, so I think working with the landscaper also to make sure that he's laying that scram out in
He
time
did tell me
to
the
keep
last
those,
time.
to keep those, hogs from coming back, at least till this construction, stops, because as they keep tearing stuff down, the house is trying to find homes.
Correct. So this is, like I said, sporty course is all just something that we're looking to for just for very quick maintenance and can uplift the property as we can. You have a couple doggy pod stations where the bottoms have rusted out. It's looking like a can opener. I really suggest just buying new ones and replacing them really quickly. Street signage, you have missing signs, you have signs that are faded, signs that you can't even tell what they look like anymore. I recommend just making an inventory of everything that we need. Hey, this is what we're looking to order, or we do, and just replacing those as they come.
Yeah, and then I noticed that the speed limits, we don't have, I think we have one sign all over the community. So at least, I think we need to figure out.
Unfortunately, that is not fully unusual. Most of the communities, that's kind of how they advertise a community-wide speed limit.
One on each street is more
Yeah.
than enough.
But it's something that you don't see, you know.
Yeah, you're not limited, but again, I just want you to know that it's not fully unusual.
I will have a complete inventory of what we have, what we need to replace, what we need, what I recommend we add, those types of things, and I'll have that all at the next meeting.
On that inventory, can you prioritize what is more critical? Because
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna be able to afford to change them all at once.
No.
If we can at least prioritize what's more critical in terms of being compliant, safety, and then move on to the aesthetics towards the end.
Everything that I recommend going forward, just so you guys understand how I operate, I come from the Army. I operate off a triage method, so everything is priority, safety, ADA, and it starts going down from there. I'm not just gonna throw money at something and worry about these small little details that aren't gonna make a huge difference when you have major problems going on somewhere else. So once we have enough time to get a hold of these priority items, then we can start looking at those more little minor detail type things. Just around the park here, you have a lot of old, outdated benches. I think you can either look to transition to thermoplastic for everything if you want to go that route. I think that's more suited for parks.
Now, is the pricing between these metal things and the material that you talked about is very drastically different? Is it like double the price?
I will get you an exact breakdown. I can tell you, I was just looking at thermoplastic benches, you're looking at about 800 and 900 per. This is, like I said, these are things that don't have to happen right this second. I think that we can do some basic maintenance to at least have them hold off for a little bit. This is just to bring it to your attention what we are seeing as we get over the community. Then obviously there's dips in the pavers where the elevation is wrong. There's a couple things that we can potentially do here, like I said.
Yeah, but those pavers, the previous board paid around 10,000 to do those elevations. So if that's something that it wasn't done, make sure to go, I don't know, if you can go back to that vendor and.
It's been less than a year.
Yeah.
I will look into if there's any type of warranty on anything like that. I will look into all of that. I want to be very clear. I'm not specifically saying that it's the vendor's fault or anything. There might have been a washout underneath that we don't know about, that they have no control over.
Correct.
I'm just letting you know that the elevation, as it stands right now, is wrong, and that's why you're seeing these washouts.
Gotcha.
This might be something that, like I said, a simple landscape order or something like that can fix, depending on how bad the problem is. I am just pointing these items out to you for the moment. One of the bigger items out here, the boat ramp, obviously, this would be something, it would take a while to possibly address if you guys want to address it. This is going to take a few companies to get the work done. We would get proposals and everything, so at least you have an idea of pricing and then you can plan for it accordingly if it's something you want to do. For the time being, we have it roped off because I don't want anyone going back there. The pieces that are there, the metal, the walkways and everything that's flipped over, our guys will come by and collect them and at least organize them to where they're not just laying there collecting rust and stuff like that. So, and we don't want people just, kids are gonna go out there even if it's roped off, so we're gonna remove all of that type of thing.
And where you gonna move it? Right there, you're gonna keep them there, or?
We are going to identify a place for this. So if we have space in our warehouse, we might be able to store it in our warehouse for a little bit. If not, it might just have to be stacked up. We'll find somewhere to where it's not in its current condition.
Gotcha.
Kristen, any update with regards to whether that boat ramp is part of the bonds or not?
No, I've just gotten the USB last week from Scott Clark, so I haven't been able to really dive into the trust.
Just let me know, I mean, there's no rush, obviously, there's nothing to do
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that place right now.
Yep.
But
I'll
I
get
just
there.
know that from previous meetings, prior to the last election, that the previous board was considering to get rid of it altogether because of the maintenance cost, so it'd be interesting to find out if that's even a possibility.
Okay.
Because, you know,
Yeah, right
technically-
now it's a safety concern, so from a liability perspective, we want to take that route.
No,
But I know what you're saying too, is, I think we would be able to, even if it was financed with bonds. You always have the ability to change the use of infrastructure, so let me look into it. I just got the USB last week with
I was
all
just
the
curious.
stuff,
I
but
don't want you
yeah,
to-
no, it'll be on there.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Just on a side note, we did find a contract for a 3-year warranty if there was a workmanship defect with the papers there. So we'll have a full inspection and we'll be in contact with the vendor to see what we can do going from there.
Yeah, nice job.
That's a lot of.
Yeah, that's really surprising.
Yeah.
Moving on,
before you move on, I'm sorry, now that you're still on pavers, what about the issue with the gopher turtles that was brought up at a meeting that they were not able to repair the pavers around the spa because there's turtles living there or something?
I talked to Clayton about this. He said he knows that there are certain permissions that can be granted to where if it is affecting the actual foundation of the pool and things like that, there are, I don't want to say, there are workarounds and there's methods things that can be done to address it. So we're looking into that.
Since you're contacting the paver guy, I just, you know, because that kind of was part of the deal on
That we paid for
contract,
including the
and
contract.
they didn't do it because of this issue, and I don't know if you have any recourse on that. Okay.
We can reach out to them, I just have the contract, so yeah, it's got a 3 years warranty.
We started looking at it. It's been done in other places where you get special permissions, especially, like I said, if it's affecting the foundation of the building and things like that, there are workarounds and things that can be done. So as far as gym equipment, obviously the big machine in there is broken. They serve their purpose for a while, but they take up space, they're funky.
What is that?
The machine, this one.
Oh,
The big large machine is broken.
Gotcha.
There's too many moving parts, so anything can go wrong after overuse of X amount of time. My recommendation is this would be a slightly more expensive option, but I think it is a space-saving option. It comes with this is a tonal system. Basically, what it is it's an all-in-one workout system. Everything's right here. You attach it to the wall. They come out and install it. It has access to unlimited users can sign up for their subscription plan. It's all free. It's included in the package that they provided to us. But there's trainers. It uses a magnetic weight system in there, so there's no moving parts outside of it. Nothing. No one can slam their weights on anything. They have like I said, you can watch training videos that are live. You can watch pre-recorded stuff. Each user has their own method of tracking their progress and whatever. It's kind of the epitome of like a home gym of this type of gym. This is an end of the line, top of the line system. They offer a 3-year warranty on everything of the system. I would recommend something like this for the space. Obviously, it's a much higher cost than just the old system, but like I said, there are many benefits to having it. I do have proposals on that, which I will get into after for a couple options.
Have you looked at the proposals that we had before for replacement of that machine?
No, when I was
Because
asked.
there should be in some of the previous agendas. Infomark submitted this proposal like almost every meeting.
It was like 8,000 or something for the.
To have the whole machine replaced with a newer model that they have parts for. I found.
You're saying this bigger machine that's here now, a replacement of that was looking at around 8,000?
Correct.
I don't remember if it was 8,000, but it was a lot of money.
A lot. So, like I said, with those, there's a lot of moving parts, like anytime something can get broken or things like that. Just for reference, one of these machines with the unlimited subscription that lasts for 3 years, including the 3-year warranty, there is about just over $10,000 per machine. So you can go with however many you want. I would recommend starting with one, just because I've never used something like this. I think it would be a good testing area. Normally, they don't even offer this to home gyms over 5 people. I had to argue with their sales department to get it literally pushed up to their sales director to say, hey, we have this experimental thing that we're doing, we'll give you this option, this is what we're offering. So you guys would be one of the first people to have this in this type of scenario.
How much you say that system costs?
If you wait till I just finish.
Oh, got it.
I just think it was.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to get in your head, don't look at that. There's some basic clubhouse repairs that can be done. Obviously, if you look around, there's paint missing on the walls, the walls are dirty. Like, there's so many little items that can be done. A lot of it can be done in the same day. These are things that we want to look into, get it out here. On the ceiling, it looks like it's just a piece of drywall, like sheetrock that's literally put over. We need to do a better repair.
That was open and barricaded with caution tape for a long time, and after I complained, I guess they just went and slapped something on there.
I think it was an okay stopgap, and it definitely needs to be
Right, it was a
repaired.
big problem.
You have gapping in the wall there, moisture gets in.
Do we have, I don't know if it's part of this, because I can't see that far down yet, but is the roof like an issue that you're gonna talk about at some point today, or not?
The roof is, I don't know if I have it on this report or not, but it is also something that we're looking into very quickly over this next 30 days.
Because that's why that hasn't been repaired properly, because we don't know, at least I don't know that, if there's still active leaks. You know, because I see spots, if you look around, there's spots pretty much everywhere in this place.
That's where I think it ties back into having an electrician come out here, having the gas person come out here, having the roofing inspector come out here, getting an idea of what the actual shape of the building is. This report was, I walked around and one day, this is what I saw. I'm just trying to give you the basic ideas before, I need a little bit of time to actually dive into everything here. But I think there is some small items that we can start to address and get a lot of this knocked out, and I think we would get a little better quality of life out here. Pool signs, we've already installed these. I installed them yesterday, so yeah, they're all Florida compliant. Yes. Okay. Every few years, Florida changes their rules and their signage. So we have new ADA compliant sign for both the pool and the spa, and we added some no diving signs, just as a little extra precaution. Some of the old signage there we just got rid of because it's literally useless at this point. It can't be up.
How about the pool closes at dusk signage?
I have not, so I did not put up any of the hours or anything yet specifically because I'm still looking into all that, how you guys want to do things. So all it is just a sticker that you put on. So we will probably do that next week. Realistically, I'd like to do that when I have our crew come out here if they're going to do anything like that. My suggestion, this is another ADA issue. Your sidewalks are all pretty, the stamps are gone. For the most part, it's flat. There's no way to tell the difference between, hey, I'm walking up to the road and I'm just on a regular sidewalk. I just recommend the truncated domes are just so much better than trying to do a stamp. Stamps just get worn down.
What is a truncated dome?
Truncated domes are, they're basically a mat with little.
You've seen them. It's like it looks like a mat on the concrete, and it's got bubbles on it.
Oh, so that's what's by the townhouse?
That's the truncated domes is the technical name.
So they basically, as they're using their sticks, it hits the bumps, and that lets them, okay, I'm coming up to the street.
Yeah. There's no other way to do that with a more permanent solution?
That is the more permanent solution. So that you can do stamps. Stamps is the cheaper way to do it, but you will constantly be chasing stamps. I think one and done, truncated ones, and then you may have to, if a truck runs over a sidewalk.
Because a lot of the ones by the townhomes are like falling apart. They're all coming off.
And some of the sidewalks that don't have it, like you mentioned. I saw in no community, another place that they have these pavers, and they have the same ADA
They also, they did the paper option
Yeah,
too.
yeah, tiles.
I
That
believe
does it
that's,
more permanent, you know.
I believe it was a slightly more expensive option. I can get you proposals for both, but this is definitely something that we want to address.
So you can't just cut lines into the concrete?
No.
It's not that big.
Not to be in compliance.
I don't recommend that, and I don't,
Yeah.
our company's not gonna.
I'm just saying.
I'm just letting you know, I don't know.
What do these bags cost about, you know, or?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll get you that.
Less than a lawsuit. I think.
There you go.
Thank you, Councilman.
When I took these pictures, I didn't have access to the pool area yet, so I didn't get to get a real good look at this. But I have, since then, the actual pillars there, the white columns, are in pretty decent shape. I think some minor repairs, some painting, a little pressure wash, maybe soft wash, whatever we need there. I think that can be restored. The wood up there for the pergola is looking rough. I recommend just a full rebuild out of that. If this is a structure that we want to keep, I'm assuming that this was originally designed to have two smaller shade structures, like cabana almost, that led to the higher pergola.
Yeah, it was solar panels, solar panels.
The solar panels?
Yeah.
Okay, there's so many solar panels here.
What about an option where you can remove all that wood and on top of those columns, maybe put like kind of some caps that are decorative?
Okay.
And maybe put some hooks or like something that you could fasten, like those tarps that are removable and washable and stuff like that. You know, because, you know, when the hurricane comes, you just remove them and, you know, and put them back up. You could, part of the janitorial responsibility would be to wash that every so many months just to make sure it stays up to par. And I think that that would prevent any further rot of wood because, you know, I went to a hotel recently on vacation and they're an old hotel and they have something like that over their spa. And it looks like they just keep changing it every couple of years because the wood always rots. So I don't know if that's something that's a feasible option. Because, I mean, it would be nice to have some shade there. There's no shade at all in the pool deck, so.
I don't see why it wouldn't be an option, but definitely looking at that. I want to get up and do a 100% full inspection of that wood on top of the very peak, just because it looks like it's fine, it just looks like it needs cleaned and things like that, but I need to get up there with a knife and do an actual.
You talking about the column wood or?
No, at the very,
The Charles wood.
at the very top of the center piece of it, there's wood that goes back and forth up here.
But there's not enough wood there to make it worthwhile anyway, right? I mean,
We can remove that entire top structure if you want to just do that and then make that.
Once we figure out what we're gonna do, yes, but I'm thinking, you know, like decorative caps with like, let's say the tarp thing. I think it'd be more cost effective than to rebuild it with wood. And it'll look nice and it'll be easier to maintain. And yeah, I just think that the wood that's there right now is not enough wood to make it worthwhile for you to climb up there, figure out if it's viable, it doesn't matter, I think.
You still want to look at it to make sure it's not going to fall down.
Oh yeah, for safety reasons, definitely, yeah, I'm saying not for revitalization.
We'll get up there next week, like I said, I'll do a knife test, if there's anything like that, we'll get it removed instantly, that's a non-issue. I at least came by yesterday, I sprayed it with, we have this chemical that we use that gets rid of algae, mildew, those types of things, and we normally just keep it on hand and do it for free for a year, so I sprayed all those columns, it has an 8-month protection thing, so a lot of that algae will clear up by itself, and then another cleaning on top of that should get what we're looking for. At the front entrance, you just have some separations in the materials there, some cracks, damages. The water's not looking great, those types of things. So we're going to be looking into this, potentially sandblasting or doing something on the sign just to refresh the bill of sale sign. And anything around there that needs to be done on washing for potential paint. All this will be brought to you. It's just something that we'd like to do at some point. Since that is your focal point coming from the community.
Is all that decorative foam that's broken, is all that inexpensive to repair, or is it very expensive to repair?
Depending on vendor, it's really not that bad. A lot of this can be done with our crew.
Aesthetically, you know, I mean, I know it needs a lot of work. We've talked about this, about the rust and all that. But aesthetically, I think, you know, cost effectively, we should be like kind of touching up with paint, those rust spots,
Yeah.
at least, even if it's every couple months, and then try to repair the foam that's breaking, because eventually someone's gonna sit on it, call, something's gonna happen.
So I believe we had this discussion a little bit when we had our meeting out there. Me and Clayton, out at Champions Gate area, we have a lot of centerpieces that are like this out there. They have multiple communities with the same design, so they use this. They're very easy to repair and maintain and upkeep like that. You're looking at a lifetime, like 3 to 5 years is when you should be looking to do your maintenance and everything on that in terms of new paint. That's the expected lifetime of that if it's maintained properly. So just giving you an idea going forward, something to consider, maybe every 2 years, do a quick refresh on some of the things. Just, I think if we focus on getting something to standard and then maintaining it, it's gonna be a lot cheaper in the long run than having to, like if we're looking at cameras, redoing these systems or whatever we're looking into. That is my goal, is to set a standard, maintain from there. There might be some upfront costs associated with that. I think if you do it right the first time, obviously I can't account for what happened before I'm here. I can take responsibility now and give you my suggestions for going forward.
And those black things, that's the solar panels, right? On the water fountain?
Yes, they should be.
Those, if they're
Okay,
not
well,
working,
You have a lot of solar panels across it.
At some point, we need to figure out
Yeah.
what are they power.
We're looking into them
Yeah.
right now. We don't have a lot of information on it except.
Now,
manufacturer.
that fountain is supposed to be maintained by the pool company, right?
I believe so.
Part of the contract.
We're working through it. I have not personally met the pool vendor yet. I got him on the phone and got him out here to at least do the spot.
Because I know for a while when they started, because they haven't been here that long, when they started, they had abandoned it, because apparently they overlooked that part of the contract, but then they see it start taking care of it.
and they already fixed some because they have to replace the pump inside of there, so they've been,
Brand new.
Some of this might have just been data that came by. If you remember about 2 weeks ago, it's been raining pretty consistently, so that might have changed it. And they might have, I think even just driving by today, I think it looks better, the water looks clear, so I'll do a double check. These pictures are normally at least a week old, because I have to have it submitted for the agenda. Sometimes it's a week before that, so some things might have already been fixed. Is there any other questions on the actual report itself?
On the report itself? No.
No.
Can I ask a question? How are we doing with regards to getting an inventory of everything the CDD owns?
We actually,
Yeah, we met with staff here, we actually went through the whole clubhouse, we have a whole inventory of everything that's here.
It's possible that we can get a copy of that, or?
and also, yeah, that's what I was to ask you. I know I saw multiple boxes before, like computers and stuff like that, so, and we don't see them, so I don't know what happened with them, like, let's say laptops and stuff that I think the CDD bought. I don't know if you have that on your report.
anything that we have on the inventory, I will give that to you. If
Okay.
there's anything that you think is missing, please let me know, so we can start digging through records. And see.
Now, the desktop, I think it's in that office, right?
Yeah,
So
one desktop is there.
They left, though, it's still there.
The desktop is there, yes.
But I know there's a box of the laptop that no one knows
On
whose
the room.
laptop that is.
On the room
In
and,
the side
In
room.
this side room. with
The box is in
Go
there.
for it.
So we've asked Infomart to provide us information with regards when it was purchased, how it was purchased, and who has it. And it's kind of deaf ears.
Okay. I will look into that.
and the same thing that I told Jason about the stickers, I asked for the accountability of the stickers and invoices and stuff, so still I didn't get that from previous management. Yeah.
Anyone else have any other questions on the report? Okay.
So far, good.
Thank you so much, man. Strong work, man. This is a lot of information.
Like I said, this could have been much longer. I'm trying my best not to bombard you, but I just wanted to show you, like, there needs to be some work done for this facility. So Tony provided us 2 proposals. I'm gonna direct you to the second one.
So start on page 87 of your agenda.
So what this includes is, like I said, it's the tonal machine. This is their commercial unlimited package. Normally, it's set up for 1 to 5 users. They will not install that version here. They want to have their company integrity. This is their new unlimited package. As many people that come in, they can make a new user account, do everything that they want. Like I said, there's personal training. It tracks everything, so you could be living here for 6 months. You know exactly what your health and fitness is on the machine. It knows it's a safer machine to use because as you're, let's say, doing a bench press, if you're hitting a point of failure, the weights will automatically adjust to help you. You're not going to crash anything on yourself. All of that is pretty much protected. That unlimited package is 3 years, the warranty is 3 years, and the total for all that with, I will have to talk to them and we'll get the taxes taken off of this. Well, you're looking at around 9,600-ish.
And the full warranty, I'm sorry, the full warranty, it says part and services, so everything is included on that 36 month price, right?
Yes, there is, if you go down just a little bit more, there's a full description on their warranty and what it covers. A lot of it is, if I take a baseball bat to it, they're not gonna cover that.
Yeah.
If it's a normal use thing, if it's a function issue with their product, they will come, they do what's called hot swap. They will literally take our system off, put a new system on right there, leave with the old system, repair it, and then they can use that whatever.
Gotcha. And then this machine works without a subscription?
So so you're buying the 4,700 is for the machine itself.
Correct.
And then the 4,300 is for the unlimited membership subscription. So basically there'll be an option, it's a screen literally that you're watching the TV. So you can come up, press a button, I want to sign into the account I already made, or make a new user. There's unlimited users.
Right.
So,
But what if people don't want to put their information in there? Can they still use the machine without having to save the information?
I will make a few just basic, like, we'll call them a null account, a guest account. They'll just pick it and it doesn't track.
Yeah, we can make guess.
Example, in this day and age, people are very leery about putting information into different things.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like this is a pretty big expense. Now, this question I've asked before from previous management, I'm gonna ask again. So that machine is just sitting there, right? No one can use it, right?
Correct.
So, does that machine have any value? Does the metal on it have any value? How do we dispose of that machine and try to get the most benefit out of it?
It can definitely be taken to a scrapyard and we might be able to get it melted down for a little bit, a couple $100.
Couple hundred.
It's
More money
not-
to get it there.
It's not made of copper.
Yeah,
It's not copper.
Can't put an offer up and stuff like that?
Most people, when those machines break, that is a trash item done.
And how much is it gonna cost to dispose of it?
Whatever the dumping fee is, so normally based off pounds, you're looking.
Can Tono take that charge?
Well, if you look at something other than tonal, sometimes when you purchase a new piece of equipment, as part of the swap, they'll swap it out for you, or they'll bring you, they'll take the
Can
old.
we find out about that? And also, are there any other options besides tonal?
So,
Yeah.
the only other option that will work with us, because of the type of facility that it is a Chinese company where it would take months for the product to get here, and you have there's nothing, like it's a one and done purchase.
Right.
There's no support, there's no, like I said, there's no warranty, there's nothing. And
What about just replacing the machine?
that is a current option. If it's an $8,000 machine, which I'm guessing it's probably close to
Well, we
that.
only have that bit from that one company. What's the name of that company?
Yeah, I just looked.
Exercise system is the one that provide the,
There were several proposals provided, different machines, and
Yeah.
they range from $8,000 to $12,000.
correct. And then they have different, you need to add this to this one and then.
Yeah.
So I think I'm at the point where I think that hunk of metal sitting there without any purpose is just a liability waiting to happen. So I'd like to see it gone. If it really can't be repaired and we're not gonna get any value of it, it's occupying space that people can be using for stretching, for push-ups, sit-ups, you understand? So I think the machine needs to go. If it really has no purpose whatsoever than just occupying space.
I will have my crew out here next week to move it.
But also we need to know the cost. I don't wanna pay $1,000 to get rid of that machine.
It would just be, basically, I can get into that in just a minute, if you wanna just hold off on that for further discussion. Because that's a part of my solution for going forward, a little speed bump coming too.
Okay.
But this, like, given this type of system compared to what you have now, like I said, I think there's a lot more benefits, especially if it's in that relative price range. I would recommend something like this. You save space, it gives a better experience for your residents, it reduces risk of falling parts or anything like that. Professionally installed, we wouldn't be the ones installing it or anything.
I totally agree, you don't have to sell me on the system. It sounds superb, but my thing is this, right?
Yes.
We're tight on money. I don't think it's a necessity to put it in right now.
No.
So I think the most important thing is to get rid of the one we have that is a liability, and then leave that space open for people to do whatever they want to do there. That's legal. and then when we figure out where we're going to get the money to replace this machine, then we can revisit a quote for this.
Maybe by
now it
July.
sounds good, like we thought there'd be like a $2,000 fix for this, you know? But now it seems like no matter what we do, it's 10 grand, 8 to 10 grand, no matter what. So I think, that being said, I don't think it's as essential, it's as time sensitive to have to put a new machine in.
No, it was just something that was brought to our attention.
Thank you, man.
Anything else? Okay. Going forward for how we address a lot of these items, these smaller things, the way we do things is it's $47.50 per man hour that they're out here. Sometimes we'll come out with 2 guys and knock out a bunch of things. We have a $65 a day fee for coming out, so that's why we try to do as many things in one day as possible, so that's not just adding up, piling on. If there's any type of specialty tools that are required for a job, so if we need a special utility trailer out here for pressure washing in a certain way or anything like that, there would be those extra costs. But the average cost, so for moving this, $65 for coming out for the day. We'd have a small trailer for it to go into, the man hours that it would take to pick it up out of here, take it to a dump, and then the dumping fee. So the dumping fee, I don't think is going to be based off of weight. Under $200 is, I think, conservative.
Okay. Yeah, it would be nice to take a look at that. And maybe look at scrapping it, maybe we could recover the man hours from the scrap maybe.
Yeah.
And then it'll cost us nothing to get rid of it.
Depending on what we could get, I'll definitely ask and call. I'll call because the time it would take to get to the scrapyard, those things, it might kind of be somewhat of a wash, or you might end up spending more. Just
As long as it's a wash, I'm good with it. But
no, yeah.
I'm not looking to make money out of that, but I'm hoping it
wash
saves
is
us.
fine, but let's say you only get $50 and it costs us an
It's
extra
not worth it.
$50 to get out there.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that to you.
That's correct, I agree.
So, yeah, we'll look into
And do you think, how many hours do you think it's gonna take? Like maybe like two hours to remove that?
depending on what dump we can take it to. That's
Now, when you said $47.50 per man hour, that's for each guy, right? And you need 2 guys, so it's really looking at about $100 an hour, roughly.
it's for that type of job.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, that's
Like
pretty clear.
I said, so for most of these items that I presented going forward, I would recommend having, we like to offer a not to exceed for our guys to start coming out and addressing some of these. That way I don't have to present a proposal for every single little thing, wash the wall, do that. If you give us a not to exceed, I would recommend starting out 2,000 to 5,000, somewhere in there, depending on how quickly you want stuff done, giving us the opportunity to prove what we can do in that time frame, and then every single meeting we can reevaluate, go from there. But
Where does stuff like this, what part of the budget does stuff like this come from?
I mean, it kind of depends on what the project is, so we would, whatever the project is, we would tailor that to that account line. So if you're looking at, again, pressure washing the courts, that would fall to, R&M or the tennis courts or the clubhouse, parks. I mean, we kind of tailor it to the charge goes to as it would be appropriate for the specific account.
Obviously, it probably goes without saying, but I would recommend focusing on the compliance issues first.
Right, that's totally exactly what I think it's, anything that's safety, compliance, liability related, it should be at the top of the list. Everything else, I think we can go and, start maybe the aesthetic stuff, start from the main entrance moving into the community. So So that, you know, when we get to that, I'm saying, but I think we got a lot on our plate with just the compliance and the, you know, safety issues. So, yeah.
Okay, so
So-
we want a motion to not to exceed, right, for those.
So you said 2,000 to 5,000, that's what you're recommending?
To get started, yeah. I would recommend a lot more, if I'm being completely honest with you, but you guys are on the budget constraint, I understand I have a little more understanding of your direction for how you want to proceed. That's why I'm saying 2 to 5 grand, depending on what you want done, how quickly you want done. That 2 grand is not gonna make the facility turn into the Magic Castle in 30 days.
Correct.
That's-
So that's my next question. So how long would it take at 2,000 a month? Roughly, I won't hold you to this hard, but I'm trying to get a concept of the differences.
At 2,000 a month, I would say 6 months plus.
6 months
I think
plus.
6 months would be the earliest.
Okay. And if we go 5,000, how long would it take?
At that rate, 3 months, 2.5 to 3 months.
So half the time
Just think about it.
or more than double the money.
Yes. So every time you double the money, you can pretty much cut down on the time, because if I have 50 grand to work with, I could get our vendors out here, I could get multiple, or like GMS could come out here, our vendors could come out here, I could do work wonders in 30 days. But obviously, we're not just gonna throw 50 grand out right now. So that's why I'm saying this slight amount per month, you guys can A, let us build trust with you, B, see the work that we do, and then C, every single meeting. If you're not happy with that, you can just shut it off.
And this is something we can adjust at every meeting.
Yes.
Right, so we
Yeah,
can
so
say,
the not to exceed amount would really only start us, so if you say not to exceed the 2,000, once we hit that, we're done, which would likely be before your next meeting, and then, you know, we would, you know, reevaluate it at that point.
I mean, my opinion is that, you know, all these things have been there for years. These are not new things. These are not things that, you know, and like council said, you know, we concentrate on the safety and compliance, those issues are important. You know, like, you know, the fire issues with the clubhouse, all that stuff, I think is top priority. I didn't hear anything about that on your report, but it's something that I think we need to definitely worry about sooner rather than later. I think that, my opinion is that we start low, and maybe not 2,000, but I'm thinking maybe 2,500 to make it kind of more, a little bit more, an extra $500 to see what it does, and then let's just see where this takes us. At every meeting, we can reassess what's been done, how things are looking, and then we decide if we have the money to give more in future months to try to get things done quicker. But I think 6 months, for me, it's not a bad deal to take 6 months to get these things done. I think the community would be happy with that, you know, and, you know, we're getting a new game, getting all these things done, I think it's excellent.
And also, the main thing here, just to start saving money, is the electricity. We're paying what, 40, we budgeted
50 grand electricity for this place, I think it's quite a bit.
you know, right now it's
Big
what,
money.
20,000 we spent?
Money saver right now, your AC set at 73 for this massive room, and it's freezing.
Yeah. No, we need to do something in the lights.
Is that thermostat programmable?
I don't see why not.
Because if it's programmable, I'm like, can we program it so that maybe at night it just doesn't run, it lets the temperature maybe climb to 80, and then in the daytime it brings it down to 73 or 75 or whatever you guys recommend?
And if it's not, then find a proposal just to get a new thermostat where we can get a schedule.
I think the only time to jack it up to make it cold is when you're gonna have an event, because then the more people you get in here, the hotter it gets.
I can already recommend you. What I have in my house is called a Nest.
Yeah.
And it's completely programmable how you ever want it.
Remotely too, right?
Yeah, it's remote. You can adjust it. My roommate does it to mess with me all the time. He's a firefighter. He'll change the temperature just to throw me off. But yes, it's completely programmable.
Does the water heater here also have a timer, or we don't know?
I'm sorry.
The water heater for here?
I do not know.
Because I know those are the major things, AC, water heater. I mean, lights really don't kill much electricity, but if we can get timers on that, I think that's worth the investment.
The lights outside, yeah.
You know, the soffit floodlights, you know, I was here yesterday, 4 o'clock, broad daylight, lights were all on. All of them were on. So, I mean, to me, I don't know if we can use that, but in my house, there's $10, $15 floodlights that have a sensor and they turn off if no one's around, and it saves electricity. So, I mean, those are the little things that I think, we could do early on, because the budget for electricity, if we could conquer at least 30% of it back by saving energy, not only are we doing a good thing for the environment, but we're also have money to do more things with field management. You know? So that might, I'd like to make a motion that we approve a limit not to exceed $2,500 a month for field management services to get our community up to par.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Question, do you have in your items, all the items that you already list over here, which one is compliance, which one is priority, which one is safety? Do you have it separated by any chance or not?
Kind of on our end. I'm still building the list and getting it correct. With something like this type of takeover, with the extent of what is wrong with the place, for lack of a better term, I really need 30 to 60 days to get acclimated, and I will have an ongoing running list. We already have it built in our system, but I will have something to where we can operate on like a checklist basis, so you can see, hey, these are the items that they identified as ADA, this is safety, this is basic routine maintenance that should be done, this is when this maintenance should be done. These are completed items. I will bring that to the next meeting.
Yeah.
I just need a little bit more time to get it.
And also when you get things done, you know, put part of your report, these things got done for safety reasons, for compliance reasons. So this is what gives us an idea that you're fulfilling what we're asking to be done.
I'll color code it too, so you can.
We've never had this before, by the way, so this is kind of for us, it's kind of like, you know, a great thing for us, and just, you know, I want to work, you guys got a lot of experience, and I appreciate that, and I want to be able to set this up so that everyone understands, including residents, what's being done and where their money's going. So I really do appreciate you doing all this work.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously.
Jared, can you help us next meeting, as you go through this money, would you just in your report show us what you put out of the, like, hey, your money this past month went towards these items?
And it'll be a full breakdown. I can tell you just the signs alone for the pools, they have to be out, you can't have a pool, that was $450 just for that. That's it, that is what it is. All of that will be on the list.
Because if you can just break it down in the report, it helps us go, hey, you know, this is where money's going, and they don't visualize for us, the value we're getting out of it.
Yes.
Because some of those things, you know, may not.
I'm trying to prove myself to these things, I want all that.
Can you prioritize changing the battery?
Yeah, we just, obviously need a time hold for that.
We have a budget for that whole.
We'll take care of it. You're okay. All right, I think that's all that we have on our end, so we can go to a supervisor request.
I got a comment. The 200 was for the Orlando Sentinel. For Sola Gazette, I saw my record $70 for meeting advertising, so it was even lower.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at that. So I'm seeing, I just looked at your records quick. There's one that shows 1 o'clock and one that shows 5 o'clock. So what was in your agenda showed 1 o'clock when you presented the schedule, or no, it showed 5 o'clock. The actual schedule that was on their old website showed 1 o'clock. So we just will verify it and just go with whatever was advertised. And we'll let you know as soon as we can get that. Any other supervisor questions?
Yeah, I just want to say, I want to thank you all for doing a stellar job in the first 2-3 weeks. Actually, 1 week.
6 days.
And I do appreciate you guys hitting the ground running and preparing for this moment. You know, and you know, all I can say is that I care about this community, and all I want to see is things get better. You know, I know that everything costs money. I know things are getting more expensive, and you know, I'm hoping that we can stay with the budget that we have for as long as we can. But I also got to be realistic that things are getting more expensive. So, but I appreciate it. You guys all went the extra length to try to help.
You're very welcome.
Before we end, I really appreciate that. So just as an example of something that we replaced, obviously we did the pool. The grates here, the inlet grates right at the sidewalk, one of them had a hole in it, so you basically have a hole that just leads into the storm drain. So we had an extra grate just by chance, so we came over, we pulled the old one out, our new one's there. So you have a mismatched set, but it is a safe area right now. We will look into replacing that at another time. At least you have a stopgap.
And I appreciate that. Anytime you get a report of anything safety, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You either promptly take care of it, and if you know there's gonna be a delay, reach out to one of the board members and see if they're around, that they can go maybe just put up a sign or something like that for you. And I think, together as a team, we can get a lot done and keep the district safe.
You just remind me something. Jason, I know that I mentioned to you on the previous meeting about the reserve study for the whole community, especially about this building that is almost like 15 years old. Do you think it's necessary to at least getting a quote to see how much that will be to getting a reserve study?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can do that. I can bring your quote back, that's easy. Yeah, I'll get your quote.
All right, thank you.
And the last thing I have is any update on roofing evaluation for the clubhouse? Roofing evaluation for the clubhouse. My understanding that Infomark has gotten quotes in the past.
For repair.
And we were supposed to get that updated because supposedly, I believe there's active leaks, but I'm not sure.
I was told there's potential leaks, but I don't have any information from Infomark about potential vendors. I'm reaching out to people next week.
Wasn't there a quote approved before, or there was just discussion?
And they
I know Skylight Roofing's been down here. I think the last, one of the meetings, I recommended CRC Roofing to evaluate it. So, I mean, you guys are the experts. Get whatever companies you guys are comfortable working with. And I think we just need to make sure that the roof is intact before we start spending money on repairing the extent.
Yeah, I've had that in my action items, so also we'll keep that track.
One other update that I have, House Bill 199, I had emailed you all about after the last meeting. It has been signed by the governor, so it's going to require as of January 1st for you all to do 4 hours of ethics training. So we're gonna have we'll have a newsletter, and there'll be a little blurb in the next agenda about the requirement, but it's not going to impact you until January 1st.
Gotcha.
And I think just as an update also, you can again, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, but I don't think they've decided any method at the he'll
That's right.
training.
That's really my question. Is there
So,
Continuing legal education.
Obviously, it impacts all of our districts, so as soon as we get information, all of our board members are gonna have it, so.
Yeah. Right now, if you go to the Florida Ethics Commission website, there's videos there, and you can watch several of them, and they equate to 4 hours. But basically, as the information we've been provided now is you're gonna sign a piece of paper attesting that you've completed the requirement.
No.
Gotcha.
So there's some stuff online that you could do as of right now, but like I said, as more information comes available, I'll keep you apprised.
And before we go, so I know, like Supervisor Coleman mentioned, we requested, with the previous management, a whole, not just for the clubhouse and not for the whole community, the reserve study. Just to know what we have, how the conditions, not just the clubhouse, not the
Oh, yeah,
everything that we own.
if we do a reserve study,
It's everything that we own. Yeah.
Oh, when we were talking about the assets CDD owns, I observed that there's a pressure washer in there. Do we know if it works?
So from what they explained to me, that's the pressure washer that's in theirs, correct? Like it wasn't part of the actual inventory.
Correct, yeah, I think they said that was Infomark's.
Yes.
So they took it already?
It shouldn't be there, correct?
Okay. We need to verify that.
I will verify, but we went through literally line item by line item, I'm pretty sure.
And have we changed codes to access to these areas and make sure that no one previously can come back in here to get anything?
Yeah, I will come by and, I just have to look up their names.
And just as for the board's information, so another process we do with our newer districts is, so you'll get a set from me tomorrow, probably tomorrow or Friday, depending on my schedule, of just a kind of a summary of the meeting today, with the motions, things we're working on. Again, it's for all of us to work together. So if you see something and you go, that's not quite right, or that's not what we thought, please let me know immediately so that we're all focusing our efforts in the right spot. That way we continue to have communications with all of us.
Okay, and also I know the HOA is working on newsletters. It's gonna be good, like you giving them information about
Absolutely.
what we have done,
Yeah.
or what is the plan, so at least the residents of Villazón, they know you know, what is going on, because sometimes they think we're quiet, we're not doing anything, because obviously, you know, some people, they don't come. So at least that, we can utilize it and see if they approve it, then that's gonna be, you know, better for the district.
Absolutely. There's no other motions. Obviously, the next meeting is July 11th, and we will confirm the correct advertised time as soon as we can. And we can take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Meeting is adjourned.
It's routine, man.
Yeah, we could add the signs, we could add the pool signs and that stormwater drain cover that they put already into that HOA floor.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more
Okay.
Jason give information to the
We're
HOAs.
actually taking. For this, we're
Advertise
not.
and market it. I have to say,